those who resisted, like the member of parliament for Kakamega County, the woman member of parliament, she was undressed.
Some politicians are noted to induce the youth with alcohol and drugs in order for them to mobilize support for the youth and use the youth to disrupt political activities of their opponents. This practice often causes violence and ethnic conflicts, which is a threat to cohesion and national security. And we have seen that, especially in the last election, 2007? Yeah. So we should really come out.
Now, a Mombasa court will today decide on a case where an application was made to exhume the body of businessman and Virali Nazirail, who was buried 2 months ago at the Koja Shia Ithnasheri Cemetery in Vita constituency, Mombasa County. This is after the brother of the deceased moved to court to seek an application for an autopsy to establish the cause of Nazirail's death. Our reporter Patronila Goren with the details upon arrival of the vehicle.
Any dispute that can be resolved by the application of law.
The deceased brother Shakir Awar, a Pakistani national through his counsel Michael Olo, is seeking orders to exhume the body of the deceased for a post-mortem to be carried out to establish the cause of his death 3 months later. The court heard that after the death of the businessman and Virali Nazirail, the widow took the body to a hospital in Mombasa. The hospital ordered them to report the matter to the nearest police station so that they could accept the body for preservation. According to the police report before the court, the matter was reported to the Central Police Station and ordered the body to be preserved, pending a post-mortem, but the family ignored and buried the body.
The truth of the matter is, this application is proper before you. The DCI is not making any sinister move. They have no personal interest in the matter. This is being done pursuant to a complaint. This court has already been informed of an inquest that has been opened. In fact, that post-mortem will assist this court in that inquest file to shut out that kind of evidence. Will be, in my humble submission, miscarriage of justice.
The bereaved family's counsel Mohammed Balala, representing the late businessman's widow Kiran Nazirali, told the court that there was no need for an autopsy as the businessman had died through natural causes.
The cause of death. It is documented. But the exhumation is to satisfy some morbid curiosity on the part of the brother. And then subsection 3 says, when giving any direction under this section, the Director of Public Prosecution may also direct whether the body is to be disinterred and examined.
Mombasa Senior Resident Magistrate Vincent Adet will give his ruling on whether or not to allow the application for an autopsy to establish the cause of Nazirali's death tomorrow.
It's upon this court's invitation that all the parties felt that they should come on board as it is evident of the subsequent proceedings. It's not in dispute that the late clerk, the counsel appearing for the interested parties, a family member of the deceased. This one is indicated as a submission, and I've also gone through the application I've seen. He actually falls within the purview of section 329A of the CPC.
Patronila Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
And Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has asked school heads against sending home learners over school fees arrears. Speaking during the inspection of Phase 2 of construction of CBC classrooms, Magoha noted that the government had already released 16.9 billion shillings. Muslims condemn Magoha's remarks.
Speaking after inspecting the ongoing construction of CBC classrooms at Hospital Hill High School, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha directed all school heads not to send learners home due to school fees arrears.
I'm aware that in Nyandarua, there has been a massive removal of children from schools. Those children must go back to school immediately.
The education boss further noted that so far the government had released 16.9 billion to schools, with 14.2 billion shillings directed to secondary schools and the remaining 2.7 billion shillings directed to primary schools.
Why are we starting to send children home? Let us be sensitive to our parents, and please do not send children home, those who are in boarding schools. Give them time, because even the month has not ended. Those who have not paid the full fees, you can engage their parents and ensure that children are taken back to school.
According to Magoha, the government is doing extremely well with the construction of CBC classrooms, saying that the remaining 3,500 CBC classrooms will be completed before the general election next month.
We are doing extremely well with the CBC classrooms. Our construction time has reduced by 1 week. I think we are now able to construct a 4-cornered classroom within 2.5 weeks. We are doing extremely well because there are some places in the country where I'm going to commission as many as 45 classrooms in the next few days. And we are now very focused in terms of assuring the general public that the balance of the 3,500 classrooms should actually be complete just before a day or so before election. And if there's a spillover, it will be an insignificant spillover.
Earlier, the CS had assured Kenyans that the construction of the 10,000 classrooms would be complete by July. According to Professor Magoha, Nyanza region is among the counties doing very well in construction of CBC classrooms, while Nairobi and Mombasa are lagging behind. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
Well, apologies for that earlier tweak, but we still remain with matters education, and Muslim leaders have come out to condemn Cabinet Secretary George Magoha's comments against a Muslim journalist during a press conference that took place a few weeks ago. And according to the leaders, the education CS's remarks are tantamount to hate speech and extremism. The leaders are now calling on the NCIC Media Council of Kenya and the president to take action against Magoha. The viral video that has made rounds on social media shows Magoha asking a female Muslim journalist to identify herself and explain whether or not she is representing multi-extremist group Al-Shabaab.
Muslims in this country are gravely concerned by the profiling of a Muslim female reporter by the CS of Education, Professor George Magoha bin Magoha, the way he called himself. In this unfortunate incident, captured and broadcast on video, the CS is seen targeting, discriminating, and verbally attacking the young Muslim lady, journalist, on the basis of her religion and referring to her as representing a terrorist organization. The consequences of this profiling, especially from a leader of this stature, are to undermine the constitutional and human rights to religion, human dignity, and press freedom. This also undercuts efforts to eradicate violent extremism, one of the greatest security threats to this country. It exposes this lady and all Muslim girls and women to greater danger.
My attire as a Muslim woman is not ethnicity. It's because of my religion. Sisi kama wanawake wa Kiislamu tunahitaji hii nchi itujue kama sisi ni nani. We as Muslim women, we work in every part and every section of this country. We contribute in this country. And for that young lady who is a journalist to be accused like that just because of wearing her hijab, and to be particularly picked on because she's a Muslim and told that that maybe she is from Al-Shabaab, that is absolutely an absurd thing to say for a person of a high caliber in this country.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has hit out at his deputy William Ruto for what he said was lying to the public about the transfer of port services from Mombasa to Naivasha. And according to the president, the port was transferred because of geothermal energy in the area that grants the country cheap power. Deputy President William Ruto has been blaming the handshake between the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga, who, according to Ruto, conspired to transfer the port services.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has for the first time responded to Deputy President William Ruto's remarks over the Mombasa port and the railway line to Naivasha. According to the Commander-in-Chief, DP Ruto should stop lying to the public, yet he is also in the same government. President Kenyatta has reiterated that the port was moved to Naivasha because of its strategic location and the geothermal energy from the area that grants Kenya cheap power.
It is, however, important for us to once again reflect on why we chose Naivasha. This has been a question that has caused a lot of empty talk over the last year, more so during this period of politics.
DP Ruto has in the past continuously hit out at President Kenyatta and Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga for what he calls conspiring to move the port from Mombasa to Naivasha. According to the UDA presidential hopeful, the transfer of the port services took place after the 2018 handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
There is evidence throughout the world that industrial revolutions are dependent on two critical factors. The first is the convenient access to and availability of raw materials and markets. And the second is the availability of inexpensive and reliable energy supply. Access to affordable and reliable power supply is the most consequential ingredient to manufacturing, and it is the first box we have had to tick to attract the magnitude of investment we are about to witness here in Naivasha.
However, both Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto have promised to restore the port services to Mombasa if elected to the country's topmost seat. Sheptu Boyd, TV47.
And church leaders in Narok have advised the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations boss George Kinoti to solve issues surrounding election stickers in an amicable manner. Now, speaking after unveiling a manifesto dubbed the Narok County We Want, the church leaders led by interfaith religious leaders, that is chairperson Bishop Peter Nakola, said the two officers should stop involving politicians when coming up with solutions regarding the election stickers controversy.
Jomo Kenyatta Airport, tunatoa ushauri kwa IEBC Bwana Chebukati pamoja na DCIA waweze kusuluhisha hayo mambo kwa haraka bila kuhusisha wanasiasa ambayo kila mmoja ana nia yake. Hawa ni watu ambaye tuna imani kwao kwamba tunatarajia uchaguzi ulio na amani, na wakati huu imekaribia, msuluhishe hayo mambo kwa haraka ili Kenya ikae na amani tunapotarajia kwenda uchaguzi.
Nahitaji amani kwa sababu hii kaunti ni yetu, Kenya ni yetu. Mimi nataka tu kuongeza kwamba wakati huu ambaye tumekaribia, imebaki siku chache, tunaomba viongozi wetu ambao wanatafuta viti mbalimbali waweze kuongea kwa mambo mazuri. Waendelee kuhakikisha kwamba wanaongea mambo ambayo inaleta amani.
IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati has moved to allay fears on rigging in next month's general election following the confiscation of election materials by detectives from 3 Venezuelan nationals. Chebukati, in a statement, termed the stickers as non-strategic materials procedure legally to assist the labeling of the Kenya Integrated Management System (KIEMS) kit to be dispatched to all the polls stations. This as the fate of the 3 foreign nationals remains unknown. Apollo Kamau reports.
Hours before IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati receives presidential ballot papers at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on Wednesday, Chebukati has broken the silence on the confusion surrounding the stickers seized by detectives from 3 Venezuelan nationals, allaying fears they were part of a scheme to rig next month's general election. as pressure mounts on the commission to deliver a credible poll.
Wanaleta watu kutoka Venezuela, wanabeba vitu vyao. Jana nilizungumza Voi, nikasema swala hilo liangaziwe kwa haraka sana, ndio watu wa Kenya wakienda kupiga kura wajua kuna ulaghai. Kama kuna mtu mwizi anahusika na mambo, ashikwe ashikwe hata kama yeye ni candidate. Unanielewa?
Police must take as firm position to inform Kenyans on what is happening and why those people are being arrested. And the government should not be twisting and changing goals from here to here.
Chebukati, in a statement, refuted a statement by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, that the 3 foreigners were not contracted by IEBC or Smartmatic International Holdings. Chebukati, in his statement, says according to the tender document, Smartmatic was allowed to have a local partner who is now in the limelight as Abdullahi Mohammed, the CEO of Seamless Limited, Smartmatic's local agent, who the 3 foreigners were destined to meet before they were arrested by detectives.
Hata wapange mpako gani, sisi tutashinda ala, Raila Amolo Odinga atashinda
William Ruto amesema namna hii, ati yeye akiwa rais atadeal na watu kama kina Kinoti. Mimi nataka nimuulize William Ruto, nani alikuambia yeye utakuwa rais? Nani alikuambia yeye utakuwa rais?
Chebukati further sheds light on the stickers held by the foreigners, terming them as legally procured, according to a Gazette notice dated July 1st, 2022, and which were meant to assist in the identification of the KM's kits for purposes of packaging and dispatching to all the 46,229 polling stations.
We must have trust in our institutions and entities. What we need is to help them deliver their mandate. And I want to believe that is what they are working towards. We have raised our concern and we believe they will be addressed.
According to Chebukati, the Commission has 55,100 KM's kits in good working condition, supplied by Smartmatic from the initial figure of 45,000 kits, 41,000 of them in good working condition. Apul Kamar, TV47.
Kenya Kwanza presidential running mate Rigathi Gachagua intensified the alliance's vote hunt mission in Narok County Tuesday in a bid to solidify their support in the Mar region. Kenya Kwanza co-principal Musalia Mudavadi also used the better part of his second day tour of the Western region campaigns in Vihiga County to urge his backyard rally their weight behind Deputy President William Ruto's campaign in.
Speaking during a rally in Majengo area in Narok town, Gachagua said their plan as Kenya Kwanza was to win with a big margin the first round in the August 9th general election.
Kusumbua kebake tutakusamehe. Kukataa kutoa sadaka kanisani tutakusamehe. Kusumbua Uhuru Kenyatta tutakusamehe. Kuleta fujo Kenya tutakusamehe. Lakini hatutasamehe wewe kuroga mtoto wetu Uhuru Kenyatta.
Gachagua, who was accompanied by Narok UDA leaders led by UDA senatorial candidate Samuel Ole Tunai, asked Narok residents to vote in leaders with a vision and who will continue the agenda of this country's unity.
Hakuna njia yote. Wewe kitendawili tutakufundisha adabu tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 tukusafirisha mpaka Mombasa. Tunai alichaguliwa kwa msingi ya kuleta makabila zote.
With only 13 days to the August 9th general elections, the Kenya Kwanza Brigade members promised to fulfill their manifesto if Kenyans give them the opportunity, while calling out their opponents for what they termed as their fake promises. In Vihiga County, Musalia Mudavadi promised to improve the economic structures in the country, improve the agriculture sector, as well as liberate Kenyans from the high cost of living.
Mumesikia jana Uhuru ameweka sherehe ya kusema kwaheri kwa wafanyikazi wa State House. Amewaandalia karamu ya kusema yake imefanya nini? Yake imefanya nini?
Musalia was accompanied by Kakamega gubernatorial candidate Cleophas Malala, Sabatia constituency legislator Alfred Agoi, and a host of other Western region leaders.
Haja yetu sasa itakuwa kuona kwamba wamama tukipata uongozi hawatakuwa kwenda kwa mtoni tena. Kila boma lazima ikuwe na maji ya mfereji kwa boma.
Maendeleo itakuwa double. Vijana wetu watakuwa empowered. Wamama watakuwa empowered. Wazee watakuwa empowered.
Sisi hatutaingilia. Tutaacha nyinyi ndio mnajua viongozi gani hapa chini wako sawa. Nyinyi ndio mnajua MCA gani ni mzuri. Nyinyi ndio mnajua mbunge gani ni mzuri. Hiyo tutawaachia nyinyi mchague, lakini mpatie Musalia Mudavadi na William Ruto nguvu wakuwe na wabunge wa kutosha, si ndio?
Mike Kagwongo, TV 47.
Azimio la Umoja flag bearer Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua pitched a tent in Meru County. Raila and Martha received blessings from the Ncheke elders ahead of the August polls. The duo, while in various rallies in the county, made good their threat that indeed they would miss on the presidential debate. Mike Gungu with the details.
Days after Azimio flag bearer Raila Odinga pulled out of this year's presidential debate, he continued with his campaigns ahead of the August 9th general election in Meru County. Raila was accompanied by his running mate Martha Karua, received blessings from Ncheke elders while optimistic of becoming the 5th president of Kenya.
Tarehe 10 utakuwa umetangazwa president. Kwa hivyo ningetaka ukuje hapa nikuweka mkono kwa niaba ya hao wote wa Ncheke ili nikubariki uende ukiwa umebarikiwa.
Mmetubariki, tumefurahia. Tunahitaji watu wa kutushikilia kwa nyadhifa mbalimbali.
Siku ya leo wewe ndio utakuwa rais wetu wa 5 wa taifa letu la Kenya. Naibu wako atakuwa Martha Karua.
Raila, while addressing Meru residents at Kianjai and Mailitatu, affirmed that he can't debate with the Deputy President William Ruto, alleging he is not clean.
Anasema tio baba naogopa debate nini? Hapana. Mimi siwenda kwenda kufanya debate na mwizi.
Sisi tunataka kuambia wakina Ruto na wakina Gachagua wawache kupigana na DCI Kinoti. Kinoti anafanya kazi yake na ataendelea kufanya kazi yake, na wezi wafanye wapi wakamate wote zinamna hiyo.
Raila, who is eyeing the presidency for the 5th time, promised to unite the country and grow the struggling economy if elected in the August elections.
Ndani ya siku 100 baada ya mimi kubeba Biblia, hiyo itakuwa imekwisha hiyo. Itakuwa ndege inatoka hapo moja kwa moja hadi wapi? Mogadishu. Nyingine kutoka hapo mpaka huko Kinshasa. Sawa? Kwa hivyo sasa tumepata suluhu ya hii biashara ya miraa.
Odinga was accompanied by other leaders, including Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi and Agriculture CS Peter Munya, who have been rivals for some time now.
Mwezi wa 8 itakuwa ni baba, mama na mamba, yani crocodile, Kiraitu Murungi. Na hiyo story imeisha. Hiyo story imefanya nini? Imeisha.
Wanasema dalili ya mvua ni mawingu. Tunaona wewe unaingia ukiwa na Martha Karua. Hata mimi naingia hapa. Mimi ndio nitakuwa gavana wa Azimio hapa Meru.
Kianjai hey! Wamama hai!
Joash Onsare, TV 47.
And again, apologies for that. Yes, the story taking us through the story then was Joash and not Mike Agwongo. And Roots Party presidential candidate Professor George Wajakoya abstained from the presidential debate after the presidential debate secretariat refused to heed to his call, that is to appear while he appeared at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa moments before the debate, accused the media of bias and corruption or corrupt allegations of the country. And this, as of course the presidential debate took center stage yesterday, Wahiga Mwaure taking up the stage after Wajakoya said no.
I am not going to unless we are for.
Despite insisting that he would not be part of the presidential debate if all candidates were not put on the same stage to explain their manifestos to Kenyans, the Roots Party presidential candidate made a surprise move when he showed up at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, the venue where the debate was being held shortly before 5 p.m. Wajakoya, while speaking to journalists, said he was conducting a reconnaissance to establish whether or not the other presidential candidates would show up. He was adamant that he would not be part of the debate for alleged media bias towards certain candidates.
I am not attending unless we are for. That's why I've come to confirm, because this thing is too far, sorry. Because they never responded to my letter. And if the media wants to corrupt the intelligence of this society, if the media wants to run corruption in this country, if the media itself can do what they have done, to hell with them.
When the debate kicked off, Wajakoya was nowhere to be seen. He left moments after sticking to his words that he would not participate if he was not going to debate UDA presidential candidate William Ruto and Azimio la Umoja flag bearer Raila Odinga on the same platform. Wajakoya would later issue a press statement in his office accusing media of bias, belittlement, and looking down on him. Wajakoya said he and his party were being classified as others.
Na sisi kama wana Roots tumejitoa katika hii debate, manake tumeona kuna ukabila huko ndani ya discrimination. Tuliwaandikia barua kuuliza kwamba kwa nini hatuwezi kuwa nne, kwa maana nchi zote za Ulaya, Britain, Canada, Vancouver, everywhere, hata US, wanga watu wanafanya wote katika podium moja, ndio Wakenya waamue, wamwone mtu vile anaangalia, waone macho yake, waone mwili wake, body language, what have you. Tulipoandikia barua hawakutujibu, tukaandikia barua nyingine leo hawakutujibu. Sasa wanataka kutuchukua tu kama watu wengine, na zile pesa ambazo wametumia ni taxpayers, public money.
Wajakoya claimed he wrote 2 letters to the presidential debate secretariat, but he got no feedback. Together with his running mate, Justin Awamae, they said they respect Kenyans, asking them not to lose faith in them. They as well promised to carry out their campaigns throughout the country.
We respect you, our voters, our supporters, and campaigns will continue as we have been doing. So please don't lose faith in us, because tuko kwa debe mpaka mwisho.
Follow us as it is. We hit Nairobi, Nakuru, Eldoret, and we shall be in Mombasa this week before we go to Isiolo and Marsabit.
Chama iko imara.
Mwangi Maina, TV 47, Nairobi.
And in the same breath, Ghana presidential candidate David Mwaure engaged in the presidential debate in what has been a significant platform to expound on his manifestos and public policy proposals to the Kenyan electorate. Paul Muniu with that.
Despite the decision by the Roots Party candidate George Luchiri Wajakoya not to take part in the presidential debate, presidential hopeful David Mwaure stepped up ready to popularize his candidature to the voting public by diving into his government plans to address issues ailing the country. Mwaure was challenged on matters of economy, corruption, employment, education, food security, and climate change.
Thank you so much. And
he said that corruption has been rife and has affected the Kenyan economy, and money being stashed outside the country be recovered to caution Kenyans from the high cost of living.
59 years after independence, we can't continue being a nation of begging. Corruption has been a big problem. Bureaucracy has been the other problem. Very high taxation, particularly the corporate tax, has been a problem in Kenya. We've got to think twice. Yes, of course, I mentioned the key one has been corruption.
He has promised to be the most suitable candidate through by becoming the new face of politics, distancing himself from empty promises and corruption.
The only thing that will move us forward is complete change from the top to the bottom. And what is permanent is only change, as they say. I've not been part of them. I'm not involved. I'm not part of that. The promises they are giving you are promises that they have given before. We had them in 2017. We had them in 2013. We had them in 1997, in 2007. And the question that you Kenyans, you must be asking, like I'm asking, what is the difference now?
Agano Party has also promised to bring down the cost of living through both short and long-term solutions by giving out food subsidies, waiving away tax penalties, reduce pay by at least 50% to spur the Kenyan economy and make reforms that will recover trillions of money held outside the country, further threatening to cut off diplomat ties with nations that are not willing to give back the looted cash.
We have said we shall introduce subsidies into other food products. That's number one. Number two, we have also said that we are going to reduce pay by 50% so that Kenyans can have money they can take home with. And that is something that will benefit about 16, 17 million Kenya shillings. If you are earning about 25,000, you'll be able to take an extra 1,000. If you are earning about 35, 40, that's another 4,000. We have also come and said to spur growth, throw some money into the economy, we shall waive away tax penalties that are accrued after the day we are sworn.
On food security and climate change, Mwaure promised to ensure food security by supporting the agricultural sector through injecting money, exploring the market and giving out subsidies to cut off the food production costs.
We have talked about the preservation of our rivers. We've talked about injecting money. We've talked about bringing subsidies that enable farmers to produce fertilizer. We've talked about that. We've talked about exploring markets. We've talked about getting Kenya to where it was in terms of agriculture. You know what? We are not short of studies. We are not short of, as a nation, of projects that have come into being.
Paul Munio, TV 47.
Well, Deputy President William Ruto has taken on his closest competitor, Raila Odinga, for not showing up for the presidential debate. Ruto claimed that Raila cannot articulate his plan to Kenyans. Have a look.
Let's talk about something else, Mr. Deputy President, and this is with regards to leadership and integrity. Your opponent, who did not turn up tonight, said he could not come to this debate because he did not want to face a man who has no regard for ethics, public morals, or shame. How do you respond to that?
Do you sincerely believe that that is the reason why he's not here? I don't think so. I don't think so. My competitor is not here because he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have an agenda. He cannot articulate anything to the people of Kenya. That's why he's not here. Secondly, my competitor is not here because he doesn't want to answer difficult questions. You know, he's been part of this administration, the handshake administration, for the last 5 years. KEMSA happened, and many other things happened. In fact, my competitor could not come here because he's not the real candidate. He's a project.
Deputy President William Ruto has claimed that the Mwaure and Roar projects were politically halted. He says his opponents have used the scandal to bring him down without any evidence.
For your information, Roar and Mwaure was signed at the same time with other government projects, signed by the same companies, funded by the same financiers, and they were signed not with me, witnessed by the President of Kenya. So these are not projects that were cooked at night or in some dark corner, right? How come that the only projects that did not go through is Aurora and Mwaure? All the others went through. That's number one. Number two, today, the government of Kenya is in court because the contractor, with all those allegations that have been made, the contractor has gone to court to demand payment of another 12 billion shillings. What about the court matter here? The contractors are in court in London, and the government of Kenya is already replying to the case in court. And they cannot afford to make it public because it's embarrassing. Why did the contractor not continue with the project? Because he was denied the land where to set up the dam. And that was an undertaking by the government of Kenya, that we're giving you a contract, we're going to give you land, we're going to give you this infrastructure for you to carry out, for you to build the dam. And the reason given then was that, the dam was going to be in a forest. How many dams are in the forest? We have Yamo Dam in the forest. We have many other dams in the forest. So I think, we have to be honest with ourselves. And that's why I am looking forward to the day somebody will step forward and actually tell the country, how will the government of Kenya lose 20 billion shillings that was supposed to build Aror and Mwaure, and yet there is nothing on the ground? What was this?
If elected the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya, Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto says he will remove the value addition tax on fuel, which will help in reducing the cost of living. Ruto further questioned the removal of the fertilizer subsidy, saying it contributed to the spike in price of maize flour. Ruto was speaking during the presidential debate held at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa.
What do you think is the solution to the rising cost of fuel, which, as you know, drives the cost of a number of other products?
I think the first thing that we need to do is to look at the taxes, because 50% almost of the cost of fuel in Kenya is taxes. I think it's time, as a country, we looked at, I think there are 15 different taxes on fuel. And I think it's time we relooked at how else do we raise revenue.
Which taxes would you be proposing to remove from fuel, the cost of fuel?
I think majority of the taxes that are in that bracket, I think there are almost 15 different taxes that are there. I do not have the specifics, but those 15, I think we need to interrogate these 15 different taxes. Which ones can we put aside so that, like other countries, we can limit the taxation on fuel? Take, for example,
let me ask, yeah. Yes, okay,
take, for example, VAT.
Correct.
I think we need to rethink taxation, VAT taxation on fuel. That was the latest inclusion of taxes on fuel. We should be net exporters of maize, for example, but we are not. And the reason why we are not is because our agricultural sector is undercapitalized. We have removed the support that farmers always had. And that is why, for the first time, because of the things we didn't do, because of the removal of the fertilizer subsidy, for the first time, the price of unga has gone to 230. In 2017, it was specifically because of drought. And for your information, the prices of flour, maize flour, went to 140. It didn't go to 230. That's the whole difference.
With less than 12 days remaining to the August general polls, Ruto has said that he is confident if the IEBC, or the fact that the IEBC is ready, and of course he will be ready for the outcome of the election provided it is free and fair. He has also said that in case of a mischief of the polls, he'll definitely go to court.
Accepting the outcome of the election includes going to court if you have an issue with the results. That's accepting the outcome of the election. Okay, you say my competitor has won, I have a doubt, and I will go to court. Why I made that deliberate statement is because we have had a situation in Kenya where every other election we foment a crisis around refusing to accept the outcome of election. And it has cost us lives, property, and many other things. And I needed to be on record, and which I am, that I will accept the outcome of this election.
All right, that very story now takes us for a quick break. We still come to decipher on the same. We take a look at the events of the debate yesterday and so much more that is happening in the country politically. We'll be having Gloria Roba joining us this morning, as well as Kevin Osido, Dr. Justus Juma of the Justice and Freedom Party, and also Dr. David Nyikorach Masanga should be joining us virtually. So make sure that you keep it right here, all set to engage as to the politics of the day. And the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47 KE22047 is the SMS short code. We definitely sample some of the comments that you will be dropping us this morning as we expound further on that as well. The lines will be open for you to call, and we definitely get to hear what you have to say on the same. But at this very moment, it's time that we take a short break and then come back with the guests.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring
whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
There's no alpha without an omega. There's no lead without any followers. No man is an island.
We have Kevin Osido in studio, as well as Gloria Oroba. Virtually, Dr. Masanga will be joining us in a bit. And so we get to this conversation. I think it's all about the debate, even though there's, I don't know whether there's much to say about this now that we did not have 100% attendance. Judge Wajakoya.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about Baba just yet, because for Baba we expected for that to play out. George Wajakoya, well, wasn't clear whether he would show up, but then he did not participate in the debate, categorically stating that if we're not going to be the four of us on the podium, or at least the three of us, then I'm afraid I am not participating. And true to it, he did not. What do you make of that?
Thank you so much, Linda, and of course my good friend Gloria, and our viewers and the team behind all this. I think for me, the fact that you say something and you go by it is credence, it's credibility, it's integrity. You stop being ping-poish, and people then are able to believe in you and trust you. And you actually build a profile that when Linda says yes, it's a yes, and when she says no, it's a no. So in terms of Professor Wajakoya, I think he was consistent. He had indicated that he wrote letters to the presidential debate team, the secretariat, and his letters were not responded to. Details around that, I think, are only clear to him and also to the presidential debate secretariat. The fact that he showed up and then didn't show up, I think is quite interesting, to the extent that, of course, remember when we were here with you last, we also said that Professor Wajakoya will not participate in the debate, and that was Dr. Matsanga, and Prof is also a good friend of mine, and I knew that he, of course, was not going to participate in that debate because he had said it. But the long and short of it, Linda, is the place of citizen voices engaging with their leaders when it comes to positions of governance and positions of leadership, such as the presidency. Of course, people have gone out to campaign and talk to people and to share their manifestos. The presidential debate platform gives you an opportunity now for a one-on-one engagement. So the decisions around whether to participate actively in terms of standing there and being fielded questions and responding to them and sharing your opinions, I think rests, and I believe it rests with the individual candidates, because you also will recall that the deputy president had also indicated that he was not going to participate. In fact, I remember in one of the shows where I met with the deputy president, I almost knelt down to beg him to appear in the presidential debate, because I thought it was very, very critical that presidential candidates actually have conversations with their leaders. And over 3 weeks, they have been having discussions. And last week or 5 days ago, he indicated that he was going to show up, of course, 4 hours after the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga said that he was not going to participate for reasons which, again, were shared. So I think for me, the decisions to appear or not to appear rest with the candidates and their teams, of course, the kind of advice that they get. But a lot of that conversation also has to go into lessons learned. Really, the Presidential Debate Secretariat has been planning this thing for almost 2 years plus. The media editors have been having discussions and meetings with the teams of the different political parties and the different presidential secretariats. And so when it gets to a level where it is only 2 to 3 days to 6 hours, and then you don't show up, and you just don't show up, I think it's quite telling. But each of them have their good reasons. President Uhuru Kenyatta never showed up for the second debate in 2017, and he's president. And at that time, the deputy president called, of course, NASA called Jubilee cowards, and you are chickening out, you are running away. And it's the same narrative. Today, Kenya Kwanza is calling the other cowards, you're chickened out. The president opted for a live Facebook interaction, social media debate with his people in 2017, and Kenyans elected him. So,
all right, well, and before we even get to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's, failing to show up for the debate, first of all, we look at Wajakoya and Kenyans, those ones that are supporters of these two would definitely, try to coin their narrative that will remind you that, Jomo Kenyatta, yes, the senior, did not attend any debate. He became president. They will remind you that Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi did not attend any debate. He became president. They will tell you that Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki did not. He became president. They will tell you in 2017, President Uhuru Kenyatta did not attend the debate and he became president. And therefore, they come out to justify that whether Wajakoya attends or Right Honorable Raila Odinga attends or not really is not a big matter. What do you make of the coming of Wajakoya, staging that show, and also the Secretariat remaining, still and firm to say that this is how we planned it, and therefore we're not going to make any adjustments to favor anybody?
First of all, those analogies are very, I don't want to sound rude, but they are very, I'm sort of saying silly. Because was Moi on Facebook?
Times have changed.
Yeah,
I think that answers the question.
Was Mwai Kibaki at any one point engaging with the electorate online?
Definitely.
Of course, times have changed. So you can't compare that. You can't say just because, by the way, William Ruto has never been in the struggle somewhere deep down in the dungeons and he has never been locked up for 6 years, he cannot be president, because you can't.
Well, now, you just switch that in favor of her. Okay,
no, really,
you really can't. Right?
And by the way, not because it's we are not respecting the struggle in the past, but because times have changed. And who knows what our struggle is now. We are defining the moments now. By the way, there is a person who was born in 2000, the year 2000. That person is 22 years old. I mean, you tell them about Oprah Winfrey, they're like, who is that? Who is Michael Jackson? Do you really think they understand the second liberation and first liberation? Do you think they can even recall? Some of them, when you tell them about the post-election violence, it's a whole mystery. They don't even have any memories of it. So also you need to understand the electorate. I told you a person born in 2000 is 22 years old. So, and that person is a voter.
Yeah.
And that person will not be understanding some of the things that you are trying to force them to understand. That person just understands that right now they need to hustle, they need to get a job, or they need to work, they need to earn a living. And so when they're voting based on their current times, So, with the issue on Wajakoya, I think I was the first one to call it out when they had the gubernatorial debate for the Nairobi governors. And then they decided, the organizers of the debates decided to have tier 1 and tier 2, two different debates. And because as much as we have affiliations and we know who we support, when something is wrong, it's wrong. And I feel that it was wrong that they decided, that the media council and the organizers decided that this level of candidates are, second-class candidates, so we know that they're on the ballot, but we know they are not going to win. So we are going to put them in this debate. So in that aspect, Wajakoya was right. But in that aspect, the reason they could not now come and put all candidates on the same platform is the same exact thing. So you're being unfair, because then you should have put all the gubernatorial candidates on the same platform. Then there was no reason to, have a tier 1 and tier 2. So they were their hands were tied. Yeah, because they started a trend which they had to showcase that it is a trend for all candidates, gubernatorial or presidential. So, and that's the reason why they had one presidential candidate talking by himself in one debate and another one talking by himself on the other debate, because they could not separate those two levels. And I think Wajakoya has a point there when he said he's a presidential candidate, and so you should be with all the presidential candidates. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to work out, because if they also did that, we would also now question, you know,
the previous ones.
Yeah, the previous ones. So their hands were tied. Him not showing up actually is a non-issue. It's a non-issue. It's really a non-issue, because how many times are you going to tell us that you're going to plant weed? Come on. We've already had, that's the only thing you have, that's the only agenda you have for this country. Weed, and testicles of I don't know what, and snake. We've already had it. We've read it, we've had it, it's ridiculous, and there's nothing you are going
and
to
supposing now that you
of,
have faulted, you know, the arrangement that was set for this debate to, or these debates to be carried, supposing he was put in the same platform with Deputy President William Ruto, we, like you rightfully say, that we perhaps know what he could have easily said, you know, and, you know, his manifesto and what it revolves around. If they were placed in the same platform, would you have been satisfied as a person who's, you know, a staunch supporter and a believer of the policies that are being brought on board by the Kenya Kwanza?
Of course, it would have been, first of all, a mistake, because if you are going to take a certain direction, it should be a certain direction for all debates. They already took the direction.
In the event that this was different, because you see,
in the event that they had all the candidates from the beginning on the same platform, then yeah, I mean, why not? Come and sell your testicles and whatever. And we, for us, you know, the thing is, in every election, there is this one candidate that will be used to just spoil the votes. And that is Wajakoya. But
used
fortunately, but he's a project, we all know. He is Azimio. In fact, someone said Raila Odinga is the only candidate who is supported by another presidential candidate.
Your boss says that Raila Odinga is not a candidate anyway. It is not him. There is somebody else who is. It's just a project, and therefore, a double speak.
He's a project candidate.
And same applies to Wajakoya, you think?
Yeah, and Wajakoya is a project candidate.
Hold it, Gloria.
Yeah.
Let's loop in Dr. David Nikorach Masanga, who joins us virtually. Dr. Masanga, good morning. Dr. Masanga, do we have the audio? Can we have the audio of Dr. Masanga Chebet?
Maybe he's unmute. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning, Gloria. Gloria, for the first time today,
you agree with her?
Yes, on the point of segmenting. Let's talk good English here. Segmenting presidential candidates. That was very, 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 very wrong. I'm also one of the media owners in this country. My media is controlling 24 million viewers for the last 6 to 7 years. And I raised these questions to the Media Council. That's why I'm now in uniform today. I'm back in uniform because this is the last time for the hours of recalling, the hours of reckoning. We are now on the job. Gloria, I agree with you on that, on Wajakoya's. And I was telling Adela jokingly, when we were with my friend on the seat, I said, Wajakoya is not coming. And I said, the same, our candidate, the Azimio friend of mine, I'm not a voter in Kenya, but I am a friend of the Jubilee Party. Therefore, by extension, I'm a friend of the Azimio people. And by extension, the same strategy, and I'm speaking with authority this morning, the same strategy that we used in 2017 is the strategy we have used. We wanted you to have space. Gloria, don't worry, you had space. People listen to you. And we are not listened to. We shall go our other strategy. Because all of us on this side started one of the subjects, political strategy, political spinning, political analysis of risk assessment. if you look at the risk assessment today, I am telling you, Gloria, if you put the risk assessment on table of what happened yesterday, the risks, Osudo will tell you the risks are too many. So for me,
too many for who, Dr. Masanga?
Yes.
Risks are too many for?
You're saying?
I'm asking, you're saying the risks were too many for who?
For Ruto.
Okay.
Those are two. Any political risk assessment officer like me sitting on the desk, I am going to show to you the risks he ran into.
Could you please expound that further, substantiate perhaps?
One of the risks he ran into is telling a lie, yet there are clips that can prove.
Okay.
And those clips, one of the clips that I can quote, which you can bring here, so that my today, Gloria, we are in a good mood with you. I am. And one of the things, Gloria, you have done today, you have dressed so well.
Dr. Masanga, can we take that from you, away from you? Because Gloria is literally budding, and she's saying now we are not going to focus much on her. But true to it...
I am not focusing. I'm giving credit where it is due, like she gave credit to Wajir. And the one of the clips of the judiciary, when Dr. William Ruto came back and told us that he was not invited to this judiciary meeting, annual meeting, but it was not 21 billion, it was 7 billion. And this 7 billion has got a bank guarantee. It won't get lost. Now today, again, later on, when he was prompted further by my best friend, good friend, Yvonne Ekwara. Yes, Yvonne brought him out. The liar came out now. He said, no, I did not say that. But the clip is there. Even today, if Gloria says no, let's play the clip. And that is what we call risk assessment.
Hold it, Dr. Masanga. Let's have Kevin Osido come in. And do you agree the risks were higher in comparison to, you know, a proper platform, 90 minutes of shining and speaking to the people of Kenya, articulating matters that would be of importance? Was it not a plus for Deputy President William Ruto? If you look at the papers this morning, a majority of them are speaking of how it was a shine for him, for Wahiga Mwaure, as they had a chance, 90 minutes, cool 90 minutes to speak to the people.
I do not know what risks Dr. is talking about, because that is his way of looking at what happened.
He's mentioned something like, you know, well, the lies come out in terms of how, you know, the DP responds to the questions.
Our Deputy President is known for being asked a question and not responding to that question, but setting up his own question and responding to the question that is set.
Okay.
And so why he does that, I think, it's actually a lesson in communication, and people who have done oratory skills and people who've gone through public speaking schools are taught how to navigate around those kind of conversations and dialogue. So it's a scheme, it's a mechanism, it's a way of running about and, you know, escaping. Of course, the DP, in a number of, in most of his answers, I wouldn't say he lied, but I think he was not consistent. And I have said that the degree of hypocrisy of my good, he calls me my brother, my Deputy President, I think it's quite wanting for a leader. I was at the devolution conference in one of, either in Kirinyaga or Kakamega, where the same issue of Aror and Mwaure came up. And the DP told us, yes, I hear the judiciary or the Auditor General saying money is lost. The money is not even 21 billion. The money is actually 7 billion, which is
so that's
lost.
an acknowledgement that money
yes, exactly.
is lost.
And even if you look at fact checking that has been done since he made this comment yesterday, a lot of it is on the negative end, because he actually was not consistent in a number of the issues that the Deputy President was being asked about. And so it will be paramount for us, even as we seek to vote for our leaders in the next few days, Linda, to look at the manifesto, the history, the consistency, and the aspects of delivery. And I'm sure you have said we are going to be delving deeper into the details, because when I was awake and I was able to focus on the debate, I took some notes, and I was able also to look at some of the issues, including budgetary aspects, including relationships, including even the preparations that the presidential teams, have had the opportunity to do with their teams. Why you say you will not appear for the debate, and then you issue a statement, and you indicate what kind of questions you want to be asked about. And you remember that even the debate actually began not focusing on introduction and then governance. It focused on the cost of living. And that was the first question that the Deputy President was asked. Which, if you look at the trend that has been set, even as we talk about the trends that have been set by the debate secretariat, most of the debaters and most of the debates actually had a beginner question. But for the Deputy President, because of the scare that he had shown, and probably a threat that he probably had meted on the presidential debate secretariat, that format changed. And I probably believe that that kind of intel is what might have asked and pushed people like Professor Wajakoya and the Azimio presidential candidate not to show up. If you look at the time that was allocated for speeches, and you talk about 90 minutes, to me it is nothing, because the Deputy President said nothing about the manifesto. He focused on things which I don't... Because
was that his problem or the moderator's problem? Because after all, then he responds to the questions that have been asked to him, and therefore, if nothing about the manifesto then cropped up.
It is because, and if you listened to Eric Latif, he said we are going to ask you questions, some of which have been shared with you. No candidate should have been given questions.
Questions were not shared. Questions were not shared. The moderators were categorical that, well, the areas that, the questions were derived from have been shared, but not the questions.
Areas had been shared. And I think if you look at what I'm saying is a consistency in the other debates, including the gubernatorial debates, the deputy presidential debates, there was a format. For the Deputy President, it was different. That's what I'm saying. But of course, they also focused on the time. That, for example, the Deputy President's time for Mheshimiwa Martha Karua was, I think, 5 or 7 minutes more than for their Deputy Presidential candidate, which I agree with. But I think for Dr. Ruto, it was, as you said, the papers are saying he shone. It was a moment for him to shine, because he's complained. One of the reasons that he said he was not going to show up for the debate is because he thought the media was biased. He was not being given ample and adequate time to share his manifesto and to talk about the things he wanted to tell Kenya. So he had the platform. He had 90 minutes to actually do that. But I don't think he focused on that. Maybe because of the manner in which the questions were being asked. But from the aspect of being a good speaker, I think the Deputy President with 90 minutes should have turned and tilted those questions to focus on what he would have wanted to be focused on.
But don't you think the question of his manifesto is out already? And Gloria, if so, well, I mean, we could even hear people at the audience requesting for him to have an extra moment to speak about his manifesto. Was it a plus or a negative that he did not get time to articulate this? Isn't the manifesto out there in the public domain?
I believe Kevin is not, he's aware. He's aware that the rules of the debate were set. You answer to the questions you're asked. And if
but
you're not asked,
yours. He was setting his own questions. That's what I'm saying.
I have not spoken since you have talked. I believe the rules were out and they were set. You are asked a question and you answer. So on one end, Kevin wants us not to answer the questions we are asked so that we can sell our manifesto. On the other end, he's the one complaining that the Deputy President was not answering questions. I don't know what these people want. You know, at least our candidate actually came to the debate. He showed up. So, you know, for someone whose candidate never showed up, they have so much to speak about the guy who showed up. At least our guy came up, as in he showed up. The one thing during an exam is at least go and sit, write your name on the exam paper, and then at least get marks for showing up and writing your name.
What changed the DP's
there are two things,
position?
There are two things he has touched on, and I'm glad that he has brought it up. Many Kenyans have always had the wrong perception of this Aurora and Mwaure Dam. The perception has been that alikula pesa, you know? And I'm glad that they thought they were cornering him and asking him about those dams. And what they did is they actually flashed out the truth. Because Kenyans did not know that, number one, the project was actually stalled to punish William Ruto and his people.
And do you think that was the case?
We actually now as Kenyans sat and we were like, hey, kumbe that was the thing. Aya. Number two, Kenyans did not know that the same contractor actually has other projects that are not stalled in different areas. Look at the Itere Dam. It's not stalled, it's ongoing by the same contractor. Kenyans were finally told also, because we didn't know, that kumbe the contractor has sued us in London. And he has sued us for like billions of money for frustrating the contract. Also, what Kenyans did not know, and yesterday they were sensitized, when people are saying, oh, but you're aware, you're the guy, you know government signed a contract with this contractor, so you should be aware. Kenyans finally were informed and sensitized that, by the way, the only custodian of all government contracts, the person who has to be there when they are signed, is, first of all, the Azimio chair, who is Uhuru Kenyatta, and his cousin, who is the Attorney General.
Why has it taken so long for the DP to come out with this information?
We were sensitized by that information. Now, let me also tell you something that I was hoping that our presidential candidate will throw out there. When you have a contract, anyone, Kevin Osido is here, we are business people, we do contracts. When you're signing a contract, especially on a certain level, there is a guarantee. There's an insurance company that comes and guarantees a contract, a project. And the purpose for that is, in the event things go wrong, the project is actually insured. Insurance companies, they bid for that job and they actually get the job. Who is the insurance company for the Aurora and Mwaure? Can Kenyans go and Google who is the insurance company for Aurora and Mwaure?
But we know
and
it is in public
domain. Who is it? Who is it?
No, you go ahead.
No, I want him to say. Because he says he knows, yeah? With that company, yeah? When Kenyans go out and Google, when Kenyans go out and Google,
for the DP to mention,
excuse me,
and for Gloria to mention.
No, Kevin had his chance.
But Gloria, if you are privy to this information, why don't you tell the public as opposed to treating them to a Google?
Because I want the public to learn the truth for themselves. This is not propaganda. A good teacher, and because Masanga has been mentioning me, a good teacher like Masanga will give your students homework so that they can go and internalize what we have learned today.
And I'm sure Dr. Masanga is privy to that, so he should be telling us.
And I am giving my students homework. Go and Google and find out who is the insurance company. When you find out the insurance company, go and Google the ownership of that insurance company. When you find the ownership of that insurance company, go and figure out how it's tied to the Azimio chair.
So at what point did the name of the
And then ask yourself
DP
this question: when a project is frustrated, a project that is under a guarantee, a project that is insured, how come the insurance company hasn't paid out? That is the key question that you. So when we are glad, we are happy that they cornered him, thinking that they were going to throw things at him, Aurora and Mwaure, blah 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 blah, and only what it did is it sensitized Kenyans. Finally, I want to say this: you cannot come and say that DP did not answer questions that he was asked. As a matter of fact. Just so that I can throw in the comic effect, we know that he was even asked, how much is enough? Where will you stop? When will you how much? And he said, enough is enough. Direct question, answer. How much is enough? Enough is enough. I don't know what these Azimio people want, because the issue was they expected that William Ruto would come and the debate would fail because he was alone. But what he did is he followed the rules, he answered the questions, he took the time, and he was not going to start, ukiulizwa, why did this happen, wanze kuuza manifesto, the bottom-up economic approach. No way. There were rules to that thing that he followed, because he's the candidate who actually respects, first of all, respects the media, despite the fact that the media has been very, very biased towards his campaign, but he respects the media, he showed up. He's the candidate who, regardless of the situation, he is not an Igade, he's not a Martha Karua, he doesn't quit. He's not a quitter. He's not the guy who's going to say, sikuji kwa sababu nimekasirika, mbona mkuniwekea kiti, I can't stand for 2 hours, things
Gloria,
like that.
how good is that when it appears like you, are pocketing money from the taxpayer without doing much? How good is that spirit of not quitting?
What do you mean? He's working. He's working. Why are you saying pocketing money?
Because he's been saying that he's not been working.
He has said that his boss has refused to give him assignments that he was doing before.
So how is he working?
So he is doing the work that he needs to do when he needs to. Akiitwa kwenda kureceive watu huko Kasarani when there's a function. Umeshaisikia akikataa? Akiitwa akiambiwa kuja ukae chini na hii committee. Ushaisikia akikataa? So you know guys, asipoitwa mkubwa wake alienda akaita mzee. Wameharibu serikali, imesambaratika. They had the big 4 agenda. How many times have you heard the president saying that I have called you mzee anisaidie? Now now, when the price of unga is at 230, is when mzee anasema, mimi sikuitwa, mimi I'm not part of that serikali. Yet we have been told repeatedly, mzee amekuja kunisaidia ndo tumefika hapa. And I'm glad that our presidential, one of the things that Ruto also made clear out, he said, when in the first term, when they were in office, they took loans worth 2.something trillion when he was still working with his boss. Yeah, effectively. After the handshake, he actually gave the figures, which was almost 3 times the loans that they had taken in the first term when he was working. He said when the handshake came, these are the loans also that we took. And so if you are going to assess anyone, assess the handshake government, assess the handshake government against our government, which was there before.
Make it brief so we have Dr. Masanga come in. Perhaps tell us the insurance company that is connected to the Mwaure. Heritage Insurance.
That's it. It's public domain. But why?
Before we get to Dr. Masanga,
why is it so difficult for the DP to just say Heritage Insurance and for Madam Gloria to just say Heritage Insurance?
And Heritage Insurance is connected to?
And that can be looked at, whether it's connected to the president. The president has been in public glare saying, I will make comments about questions that have been raised about my family and my involvement.
Even told us
about 2 months
he said even Pandora Papers, he would come and give us details when he came back from his trip. We still don't have we're still waiting.
Which
SGR contract,
which Linda is an accountability issue. And we have accountability.
It's a corruption issue.
Corruption and accountability is the same.
State capture.
It is an accountability issue, and we have institutions, including the media, which is why I'm happy that the presidential debate platform is giving us an opportunity for the media to ask those questions, because we have accountability institutions. Parliament is an accountability institution. The president and the Pandora Papers was live before Parliament was prorogued. How many times did parliamentarians, including those who are in either the opposition or government opposition, ask about the Pandora Papers? We have institutions of whistleblowing, you know, who raise these concerns, and we're not supposed to treat them as political narratives. They're supposed to help Kenyans answer difficult questions, such as, for example, the debt burden concerns. Why is the cost of living so high, and we are borrowing too much, and that money is actually being stolen?
So allow us to take a short break.
Then we now
come back on that very note.
I also want to make some
short break.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste, all that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m.
Saga, which you also have alluded to. Moving forward, what do you make of this? Gloria says that, now Kenyans, had the privilege of getting to know the deep-rooted truth of these whole projects. But then questions are, why is it that the DP has taken so long for him to, disseminate this information to the public? I mean, he's always been out there campaigning on different podiums. He could have perhaps mentioned some of these things that he mentioned yesterday earlier on. Why not?
Thank you very much, Linda, and thank you very much, Gloria, and my friend Kevin. Today is a day of reckoning, that the truth must be said about these Emorel and the Kemerol dams. It is true, you will not find Ruto in any corruption case anywhere on planet Earth. But I want to ask Gloria also, as much as she says, go and Google who are the insurance. Can I also give Gloria homework? Can you Google and find out who is the owner of the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto, my good friend whom I rescued from ICC? Who owns his helicopters? Who is the owner of his helicopters? From Italy. Then when you come back, we come back for another show, maybe after 11th of August. That is an assignment that I've given Gloria.
And I think it ends at that, because then we focus on this other matter.
Then now let me come to this insurance thing. My dear.
Proceed.
Am I on the platform?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Linda, the gentleman, my good friend, who has always been, whether he's lying, whether he's not lying, he's always lying. You cannot get Ruto. So at times in Jubilee Party, for us who know him inside out from Jubilee Party, we know how he can lie and continue lying. The bank guarantee, we all do businesses. Gloria does business. A bank guarantee cannot see the money stolen just like that.
Dr. Masanga, if you think Deputy President William Ruto then is lying, where is the truth? Why is it that we are not being presented? Where's the truth then? Where is the truth to counter what it is that he says?
My dear, I am not the Auditor General of this country, Republic of Kenya.
And therefore then we would say that what you're saying is misplaced? Why would you argue it's a lie?
No, it's not misplaced. I'm now telling you the truth.
Okay.
About it. I'm not accusing. Have I said Ruto took the Cameroon money? No.
No, you have not.
I'm saying I've given Gloria and homework how that money that came from that Italian man who has done shoulder deals across the whole world, how the money was transferred from one account to the account that actually bought
Dr.
Some
Masanga,
of
do you
them-
think the investigative bodies are privy to all this that you speak of?
Yes.
And if they are, then why is it that we still do not have answers? Why is it that if the DP is that bad, he still walks scot-free?
I am not saying it is Ruto who should go in jail.
Who
And
should?
I am not saying that to bring
Alana, we
Ruto
were
to
talking
jail.
of Aurora and Mwaure. Suddenly there's an Italian man. Suddenly there's
Gloria, Gloria,
can
you know,
we
you know,
be
we
relevant?
can't focus on the Aurora alone.
No,
we
but then
generally
he
look
was
at some of these
responding
things. But
to
then again,
the
the rest
Aurora
should have been a
Mwaure.
yes.
If he's not
Proceed.
responding to Aurora and Mwaure, he can just say speaking up.
Gloria.
Where have choppers come from? I mean, guys, let's be serious.
Proceed, Dr. Masanga. It's contextualizing this, Gloria.
No,
I think
you can't, just because you're the mad, you can't just drag everyone to the mad with you.
Gloria, let's allow Dr. Masanga. Dr. Masanga, can we get to the point?
Linda, it is Gloria. Daktari, let me just try to help you if probably I can.
Gloria, you told me to do a homework,
Yeah,
and I'm doing
and
the
Google
homework.
the ownership of heritage insurance.
The ownership
Yeah.
of heritage.
So he's also talking about ownership
Gloria,
of property.
it's an open forum, so much as we have touched on, remember it's about the debate, and generally, of course, Deputy President William Ruto, because he's the person who attended the debate before we even come to Mwaure, and therefore, someone can bring on board anything and everything to contextualize this whole matter. Dr. Masanga, I want to give this to Kevin Osido. Is it okay, or there's something else you want to talk about?
I just want to finish.
Please.
And then Kevin can, and Kevin and Gloria can sort it out on the ground there. Let me tell you.
Yes.
The question, nobody, if you go and find out how those new helicopters arrived in this country, the transfer of money, the money going to London, and Gloria, I live in London, my dear sister. There is no agency that will defeat me to enter where to find out facts. The money going to London to accuse us is on instigation of the same people who actually are annoyed that this deal was cancelled. Now, the DP told us that there is a bank guarantee. I want to be a layman because for you people are business people. I'm not a businessman. Let's assume what does a bank guarantee do when a contract is cancelled? You tell the Kenyans. That's what the DP should have told us, because he came before judges, not before Masanga. He was in the judiciary. He told us there's not 21 billion, it is 7 billion, which is bank guaranteed, and it is not lost. Now today, he came up and said the same money we are being accused in London for cancelling the contract. For is it 7 billion? Is it 21 billion? Which one is which? The companies that took place like a Heritage on insurance, if they have taken money, take them down. They are not Masanga's company. I don't own a company that it goes to insure such big projects of billions. I'm a very poor street trader or somebody on the streets. So if the company, if you talk about Heritage, what about Amaco? Amaco has been covering so many government projects. I can name you about 10 projects that Amaco insurance company, which is now Uganda Limited,
that have been commissioned well, because you see that also is another factor. Remember, the question is, Aurora and Mwaure, and therefore, if we've had this project, having some or experiencing some instances of flaws, therefore, then this conversation is out here. If Amaco has worked with, different government entities on different projects and they have sailed through well, then really that should not be a problem. Can I take it from you and allow Kevin Osido to as well say something?
Linda,
30 seconds, Doctor.
I am on the virtual network, and Gloria today is gonna throw me because I'm not near her. I wish she was seeing my fire near her.
30 seconds, Dr. Masanga.
I would have told her the truth that, please, this thing was badly done. Whoever took the money of Emerald and the Kimorol Dam must go to jail. That's all I can say.
The DP says money was not lost at all. He thinks.
Money was, then why are we being accused? Why is Kenya being accused in London?
Hold it, Dr. Masanga. Let's allow then Kevin come in. Kevin.
Linda, one of the things that is really exciting about this debate is if you listen to the Deputy President, he said that actually what Kenyans do not know is that the government is being sued in London and Kenyans cannot be told. And maybe he thought that that was such a big whistleblowing news or something that really should have icked Kenyans. But you are the sitting Deputy President. You have a huge sum of intelligence and the reports that you consume. Remember earlier on I was talking about accountability and institutions of accountability. And the question in my view that probably Latif and my good friend Yvonne should have asked was, how will you safeguard Kenyans from such? Because for me, whether money was lost or not is about the guarantee issue. And if heritage insurance is a guarantee institution, then whether the case is won by the government of Kenya or not, the company is supposed to ensure safeguards so that Kenya as a government and the people of Kenya do not lose money. And I agonize and sincerely empathize, and unfortunately I may not apologize because I'm not in government, for the people of Aurora and Mwaure, for the fact that for all these years you have gone without water. Every presidential debate we are having, we talk about you. And remember, during the break I was asking, you have a governor, you have a senator, you have elected leaders who are supposed to represent you. You have members of county assemblies at that level. You have probably institutions, banks, private sector investors. Where are the voices of these critical stakeholders when discussions around Mwaure and Aurora are being had? Remember that we were also told that the contractors of these other dams are also to Linda. I can show you maybe the dams that we have from fact checking, Thiba Dam, Thwake Dam, and all these others. The contractors are totally different. In fact, for Aurora and Mwaure is an Italian company called CMC di Ravenna. Thiba Dam is from is called Nippon Koei and Gib Africa, contracted by Strabag International. So whether we say the contractors are the same or not, whether we say the contractors are the same or not, they are not. You understand? Number one. Number two, remember that just before the debate of President, the former Prime Minister and the Deputy President, we had an initial debate where the bishop appeared again alone, where Professor Wajakoya was supposed to appear. And he raised concerns, which again we have continuously asked and talked about: conflict of interest and government officers doing business with government projects. Issues around corruption that we're just talking about right now, Linda. And he said that in my government, we will not allow for investors to be frustrated. And he tried giving examples of investors who've come to this country and left because government officials asked them for money. We must go beyond the conversations and just the narratives of Aurora and Mwaure and ask ourselves, what are the circumstances that one made money either get lost or not, or whether it is guaranteed? Number two, what are the circumstances that made the contractor to be frustrated? Number three, how do we deal with the issue? Because this cannot be a campaign issue, year in, year out. And I imagine that probably even those who are running as MCAs and governors and MPs in Aurora and Mwaure are also telling people, we will tell you who stole money for our water. Questions around dams. Service delivery aspects as important as water service delivery, Linda, should not be treated as a political tool. As I finish on this issue, we have had a big conversation from devolution and governance perspectives around stalled projects and white elephants in this country. The DP told us when he was asked the question around being the chair of the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, and he said that we have helped counties to understand their assets, get to know which assets they have. We have helped them to transition and transfer functions and all that. Why can't we also have similar conversations, Linda, around the white elephant projects in our counties? So that whether we have intergovernmental engagements for what functions are for national government and county government, so that Aurora and Mwaure in 2020, that time when we move on, whether it's Dr. Ruto becomes president, or whether it is Mheshimiwa Raila or Wajakoya or the bishop, We no longer have to have conversations around frustrating citizens over such important concerns as water. So for me, we must stop treating Aurora and Mwaure as a political campaign tool. The deputy president, in my view, as somebody who wants to be president, needs to be accountable and be honest with Kenyans. Stop treating Kenyans as people who should have this piecemeal of information and this one is not relevant for them. You are the DP, for heaven's sake, and for the sake of the future of this country.
All right, Gloria, you suppose that out of that, do we call it a debate or more or less like an interview, the people of Kenya were able to listen to the DP and hear most of the crucial things that they would have wished to hear, and that there was an impact that would be felt both on this side to, say, boost the campaign of the DP or the chances of the DP?
First of all, it was not a debate and it was not an interview. It was a very aggressive cross-examination, as if that was a witness who was on the stand, who was being cross-examined. And we are okay with it, because in any case, any leader should be able to be cross-examined. But it was not a debate and it was not an interview. And those who are carrying out that debate know that very well. That is why they were chasing after it, chasing after it. They enter a topic, wanasahau that it was an interview. Then they realize time is up. We've not even asked about the manifesto. Because a cross-examination, you try to corner the person until you get them to where they are. But they couldn't. There was nothing to corner. So it was a very aggressive cross-examination. It was not a debate, not an interview. I'm glad that Kevin has spoken about accountability. That same accountability that he's talking about, conflict of interest, of people doing business with government, is the same accountability that we have spoken about throughout this whole campaign period about state capture, about families, 3 families doing business with government, families that are in government, that are leading government, doing business with government. We are talking about issues that are there. We know who are holding these contracts. We know which families, and we know how
what
they
if
get
they
this
fit
contract.
the bill, Gloria?
And
they
it's not
are
about
Kenyans.
fitting the bill. It's about that accountability that Kevin is talking about. If it is, okay for you to do business with government when you're actually sitting and leading certain agents or certain places of that government, then you should also be very open about it. It should be transparent. There should be no reason why, up until today, we have not seen the contract that for the SGR. There should be no reason up until today, some of these contracts of this big, what he's calling the white elephant projects, national projects, under the Presidential Delivery Unit, have not been disclosed to us. And like I said at the beginning, the custodian of all these contracts that are signed by service providers who are working with government, the custodian of these contracts is actually the Attorney General and the President. So there should be no reason why we are sitting in studio and nobody can tell us who actually are the service providers, or who actually, how was the contract of the SGR structured and where did the money go? Which that should be public, it should be out there. Now, when you're talking about state capture, because that is what Kevin is actually talking about, only that he's trying to make it look like something else, but it's actually state capture. When you have certain individuals and certain companies, for instance, let me just give you an example. I think a couple of months back, there was a contract, there was a tender that was put up for leasing of vehicles for government. You know who won that contract? NCBA. Yeah? When you look at all the people who applied and whatever, we are not saying that it was won illegally, but then you look, that is a clear example of government doing business with government, but really it is government stealing from government. It's like mkono yangu ya right, mkono yangu ya left, and that is what we are doing. That is what we are calling state capture. When you ask yourself at this point, we are complaining about maize prices going up. Who is the #1 beneficiary of that business? Go to Unga Limited and check who are the shareholders. Tie them back to whoever. Who actually benefits when now government comes in and says, we are going to conduct a subsidy program. We had small-scale farmers coming in and saying that their groups are not being considered for the government subsidy. That even the government subsidy program that is supposed to relieve Kenyans of paying 230 shillings to paying 100 shillings, even that has been captured by certain individuals.
And so Gloria, the biggest problem then would be that, we have officials in government that really are the ones who are running.
The biggest problem is that, #1, this country has been built on successive acts of land grabbing. And we know which family. That's the number one big problem.
And that in the event that the
Number two
DP is
big
president,
problem,
such would not
Number
happen.
two, by the way, when you start with the successive acts of land grabbing and who are the beneficiary of that land and which families are there, that is where the resource starts. That's where the problem starts. Then you tie it to agriculture, you tie it to the milk industry, you tie it to the minerals and whatever industry. That is where the biggest problem starts. And if we are going to be honest with Kenyans, then we better speak the truth. You saw how the Kenyatta University land saga ended, right? I'm glad that today I've read that the VC has actually been reinstated by the courts, the one who was fired. But if you follow, and I gave that, you find the same culprits there. And what we are saying is, and I'm glad that yesterday when they asked William Ruto, how much is enough? He said enough is enough. That same question I want to ask to these families, to these dynasties, to these people who have grabbed everything and stolen everything and have left Kenyans paying 230 for unga, and who have monopolized industries such as milk, who have monopolized industries. Try and get a license to sell fuel in this country. See how easy it is. Who have sold our ports and benefited from it. Whose children have stolen COVID money.
Okay.
We want to tell them that come August 9th, freedom is coming.
I do not know how freedom.
This is the liberation. This is the liberation we are pushing for. We are going to liberate this country from the hands of people who have actually captured it for many years.
And that would be a good thing. And I think Kenyans would really want for that to happen. Gloria Oroba, if you have witnessed what happens in Africa, Dr. Masanga, perhaps this question comes to you. Most of the leaders that we keep saying, want to be leaders for life, most of the presidents of Africa, one of the biggest reasons that has got them, trying to even tamper with the constitution just so they would remain in power, is because sometimes they have fear they will be hunted upon once they exit the stage, and therefore the people who get to success, to take up the mantle, then in most cases will hunt down on them. Listening to what it is that Kenya Kwanza speaks of, and how they articulate some of these problems that really are here with us, and they could be privy to information that would prosecute or would incriminate some of these individuals that are about to exit the podium or about to exit the stage. Do you suppose they will not come hunting on the likes of President Uhuru Kenyatta? Because, they have mentioned his name at some point in time.
First of all, I want to
And would it be wrong if they hunt on him genuinely?
No. There's something very wrong here, and Gloria and Kevin, take it from me. Please, one of the reasons why we have not, ourselves in Uganda, we have not managed to dislodge President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I want to confess here that some of my colleagues use a language that when we come to power, we shall deal with you, we shall do this, we shall remove all NRM. People have grown out of this system. And that is true. I want to tell the truth. I don't want to lie to you. That's why we have been in 37 years, the only consistent man who has said, there's not revenge. Let's not do a revenge is me. Besigye talks about revenge.
But then how do the people of Kenya, or how do citizens then get justice?
Yes. When Kibaki took over, I was here. And Gloria was still very young, and I believe we still...
your points without putting me in there.
Yes. When she was here, she must have seen how many people were saying, let's go for Moi. Kibaki said, no, we are not going that route. We want to reconcile, and our nation moves on. Let's not do mistakes that the other people did. So when Gloria and the Kwanza, Kenya Kwanza, talks of revenge, that is very dangerous.
But Dr. Masanga, reconcile at the expense of the numerous Kenyans that really...
No, Alela, which revenge have we spoken about? We have said freedom is coming. We are going to liberate this country from state capture. Why is anyone actually identifying that as revenge, if not the guilty? We have said we are liberating this country from state capture.
Now, let's allow Dr. Masanga
so which revenge
make
is
his submissions.
Masanga, you can use capture this case.
Gloria, my dear sister, dear sister Gloria.
No.
You have asked me, Linda, you have asked me.
Yes, proceed.
The question is, African presidents, when they fear leaving power because people tell them we shall prosecute you, which is the truth. There are people in Africa who tell others they will prosecute them.
Should they not be prosecuted if there are grounds for that?
Yes. So, for Gloria's sake, don't think about that. Get your freedom the way you want. If Ruto wins election on 9th of August, let him not think of revenge. Let him think of accommodating other Kenyans who had different views. Not revenge, not to say we prosecute, we go for this, we go for that. No.
Dr. Masanga, hold it right there. Let's allow ourselves to take a quick break, and then we'll come back on that very note. As Gloria would ask, is it a question of revenge, or is a question of justice and getting it in order? Would that be wrong in any way? Should we let those ones that really have been against, the growth of the country move scot-free without being questioned, without being put to book? Some of these questions that are really, really pertinent, that one person can move scot-free at the expense of millions of Kenyans that would be looking forward to have justice. And so we take a short break, Dr. Masanga and Gloria, as well as Kevin, then come back on that.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32.
Take the same direction, but then they say they're here to bring that aspect of liberation. How can you bring that aspect of liberation without going back into the previous cases? And in this case, we have had, even during the deputy presidential debate, we saw Rigathi, 1,001 times, not 1,001 times as such, mentioning President Uhuru Kenyatta several times, mentioning President Uhuru Kenyatta, and therefore, what are the chances that they will not come back, haunting him? And I mean, even if they do, isn't it in order for the benefit of the people of Kenya?
Linda, let me tell you, do you know why in Africa presidents that have left office in some troubled countries, and by troubled here I mean countries where the foundational aspects of governance, like institutions, have been compromised and things are not working. Presidents who have left office are either overthrown or they, when you run to another country, what is it called?
They're in exile.
They're in exile, exactly. Is because mechanisms within which you have conversations around state building and nation building are absent. Look at Zimbabwe, for example. Even the wife had to leave the country before even the late president, you know. Look at the military aspects of governance and how security then comes to the fore. Kenya, luckily enough, has not gotten to that level. But if we are not very careful, this country's foundations have been wrecked, pushed, moved to the level where, in fact, at some point in time, and you were almost there in 2002, thank God for the manner in which President Moi and the President Mwai Kibaki was able to, and the people that worked around that, and indeed Kenyans through elections, because the election was very clear. You had an outright winner. In Kenya, we many times even don't have an outright winner. We have to petition, we have to, you know, recount votes, we have to ask difficult questions. Linda, it is because we have institutions of governance. For example, IEBC, that manages the elections. For example, the judiciary, where you can actually go and petition and ask questions. This country, the reason why we are finding difficulties, even to mention heritage insurance and its ownership, is because of conflict of interest and selfish interest. Parliamentarians, why is it difficult for them to hold the president's family, if that is the bigger elephant in the room, to account? And I'm saying this because me, I don't know. I've not Googled CR12 of heritage insurance, so I don't know whether it's the president. But I said earlier on that the president has been clear through the Pandora Papers. He told us, when I come back to Kenya, I will issue a statement about my involvement and my family. We cannot wish away the history of nation and state building. If for a fact there was a family that was able to galvanize and get land, we have a land justice mechanism. We have a land acquisition history of this country. We have a whole ministry of land. We have a whole commission of land. Why is that institution of governance and accountability in position? If we say the CEO has been compromised because the Attorney General is a president's cousin or whatever, you know, what is the mechanism to deal with those difficult questions, Linda? There has to be a way and a mechanism to be able to ask the AG, we know you are, for example, you are the president's cousin. This thing is hurting Kenyans. How do we deal with it? Or you will come and say, my cousin cannot sign because he's a president and there's a conflict of interest issue. How do we deal with it? Because we cannot wait until 5 years to say it's politics, it's state capture. When you say you want to establish a commission, state capture commission, what is the guarantee? Because Linda, let's not lie to Kenyans that in 100 days, or I had some people saying the following day, you are inheriting a government that has been in position. When you hold the Bible and you say, of course, by law, you mention the president within 7 days.
Yeah.
So it can't be on 10th of August. It has to be a few days after we get an outright winner. Say there is no petition and the case is clear. You hold the Bible. There is a minister that has been sitting in that Ministry of Land. There has to be a mechanism to transition. What if that person runs away? Because, for example, you are saying, we will arrest you. And we have heard, for example, Azimio saying, we will deal with corruption cases. We have an EAC here, EACC, a mechanism, an institution. So my prayer is that if the deputy president sits in a better place, in my view, Linda, to be able to give Kenyans these answers, not necessarily as president, but as somebody who is privy to intelligence reports. The deputy president knows every corner of this country, and I like him for that, because he's able to navigate and tell stories, whether they are truths or lies, about people who are in which area, people are suffering in which area. Aurora and Kimodar people are suffering because of what we are now calling state capture. We have areas, families that were dumped in Rivayala, not more than 50 kilometers from where I come from. There is a security mechanism. They are asking questions. So let's emphasize on strengthening accountability and not, in my view, personalizing this war. Because personalizing this war will make some people not become PSS. They will not be cabinet ministers. Sometimes they may never even be presidents.
And you know, Sky T. Karish says, when we guarantee people scot-free life after messing our country, the trend then will never stop. Yeah. So I do not know how you address.
Can I say something also? When you say, let's not personalize this
and how
war.
can you deal with this without personalizing?
No, the thing is,
somebody has stolen money. It's a person.
Kevin, who is the face of a cartel, it's a person.
Yes.
It's a human being.
We mentioned
so
the
when we have to get to the
when
people.
we say state capture, who are these people capturing the state? There is a face.
They are known.
And therefore you will go for these people.
So when you say let's not personalize it, it's difficult because you're saying we need to arrest a ghost because we can't personalize it. When we talk about COVID billionaires, we went down and there was a report and it was there and names were put behind a company, behind a limited, their shareholders, their owners, they have faces. Those are the people we want to hold.
Go for, okay.
and say, this is the face of a COVID billionaire.
You want to give him 30 seconds to clarify?
No, I want to just explain why sometimes...
Allow him 30 seconds,
Sometimes
Gloria.
it feels like people are being attacked, but the people who feel like they're being attacked is because they're guilty. Just now, I have said we are going to free this country. The Kenya Kwanza, when we come in, we are going to free this country from monopolization of certain industries. And I've given an example of milk, and I've given an example of fuel, and you know, we are going to free this state so that we open the market for everyone who actually wants to participate in that trade. And that is actually saying that we are going to free the state from the capture that it is in. And then Masanga said, why are you threatening to arrest the president?
To target someone.
So you ask yourself, how have you connected the president to my statement? It means you're guilty. The people who are actually so fearful of William Ruto getting into office.
Let me play the devil's advocate.
No, let me explain. Let me finalize my thought.
Yes.
The people who are so fearful, they are literally like just sitting in their houses praying. It is their prayer point that William Ruto does not come in. Those people understand that William Ruto is coming in to free this state from the chains that they have actually put it. So you'll find a businessman who has been doing business with the government illegally, not through the Procurement Act of 2015. You'll find that businessman praying because anajua, when William Ruto come in, everything will be put to light. We are going to actually make our institutions independent so that anybody can know there is this tender, it's out here, these are the people who applied, this is the people who have been shortlisted, this company is owned by Kevin Osido and who.
And we're also going to get clarity on some of these corrupt allegations.
Not only are we going to get clarity, there are simple things. You know, I allowed you, Kevin, to speak. It's not about even clarity. When people say that for us to move forward, we have to deal with historical injustices, that has been clearly stipulated on the TJRC report, Ndungu report. Like I was telling you, these successive acts of land grabbing, you know, you can go, yesterday they put William Ruto on the spot and said that there's this land that you have been, accused of ABCD. And he spoke very well. He even said he's also a victim. He's actually a victim of this kind of land grabbing shenanigans where unauziwa shamba, unanunua, you pay your money. A few months later, you come to realize the person who even sold you the land did not own the land. That's why we're saying issues such as now land ownership is going to be put on the forefront transparently. The digitization that they were trying to do that they've done halfway. It will be that I can enter like I can enter on NTSA and see that this number plate and this car is owned by Alela. And if I have issues with that, there is a proper channel that is independent, an institution that I can go and say, actually, this is my vehicle, it was stolen, ABCD. We are asking for transparency of all government dealings. And so when Masanga says, don't come in and threaten that the former... We are not threatening anyone. We are saying we are going to free this state from the capture that it is in. And those people who feel threatened are the guilty.
Okay, you know, time is moving very fast, and there are a couple of other things that I'd love for us to touch. But to touch on Dr. Masanga, we do not want to delve much on that. But Deputy President William Ruto raises one matter that, would appear pretty much easy to look at. But I think it's only fair that we get into understanding when he speaks of the unbudgeted projects and how much they take a large chunk of funds in the country. Just how much of a danger is that, in as much much as we all know that in every process of budgeting, there's always that aspect of miscellaneous. When we're talking about tunes of 100 million, 25 million, monies that are being put to projects that are unbudgeted for, what does it speak of this kind of government? Is this a space where then there's so much opening for corruption to take place? There's so much, openings for mishandling of funds. And what would it take to have, a government that has its activities in order, all set, and that a majority of these projects then would be budgeted for us to avoid such occurrences?
Thank you very much, Linda. I want to make some clarity here, clarify some issue. Issue number one, the only person who has been convicted of land grabbing in this country is William Samoei Ruto. And he was convicted of grabbing Muteshi's land. It is
which he also addressed yesterday.
Yes, he is a convict on somebody's land. He was convicted and fined, and Muteshi died without getting that compensation. Let's clear that. The rest I don't know. I don't own any land in Kenya, and I don't wish to own one because of that controversy that surrounds land. Point number two, the Deputy President recently in a rally said, we shall do the South African, and I quote, we shall do what South Africans did. So when you say you are doing what South Africans did to investigate the state capture, what South Africans did is exactly to bring Mr. Zuma on trial. So that is why, Gloria, I was referring to that statement of the Deputy President. Thank you. Those are my 2 points I want to clarify. The question you have asked me, Linda, is a very good one. The man who says 100 billion doesn't even know how many taxes are on fuel. How naive. In fact, Gloria Boroba could have, in fact, I don't know why they didn't take Gloria. Gloria would have done it wonders because she has information on the fingertips. The Deputy President, the Deputy President did not even know how many taxes are levied on fuel. Look at that. If I mark people's exams. This man here, then he said, you could see her, he was not aware, he was shocked with that question. He didn't know. Then he came to VAT, another lie. He's the one who told Duale, vote for VAT is very good for the government. Now today he's saying VAT is very bad. We shall remove it. Now, for me, let me move from there. The Uhuru, that is Uhuru, what is it, Gardens, which he claims was done out of budget. Of course, the government has got what you call, you have used a very good word, miscellaneous. And the Deputy President knows what miscellaneous means, including his office. His office gets miscellaneous money, which he earns, which is free money, when he's not working. In fact, he gets allowance out of the miscellaneous budget.
Why would he complain about that? Perhaps there is a cap to it, or there is a certain amount that it should not supersede?
No, Masanga, stop lying to Kenyans. You're lying to Kenyans because, first of all, this is not a budget like the one you do in a kiosk and then you put miscellaneous 10%. Even the supplementary budget, the supplementary budget that was introduced for Unga, we were questioning. It has to be passed in Parliament. It has to be passed in Parliament. So you can't have a miscellaneous budget of 15 billion and then go and renovate Uhuru Gardens.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm surprised that you're questioning the fact that William Ruto did not know what is the VAT on milk? What are the taxes on milk?
You are not.
Thank you.
Dr. Masanga is going to tell you that he's not vying for presidency.
No, he doesn't know.
He's going to tell you that he doesn't vie for presidency.
You know, we also have, and this is where now people respect experts. I can't come here and start the constitution like a lawyer or section what. I understand there's an expert.
Doctor, just a moment.
Ruto is not a tax expert.
Okay, Gloria. Back to you, Dr. Masanga. Make it brief so that Kevin can as well come in on this.
Budget. All right. Supplementary budgets are actually passed in Parliament.
Gloria Roba. Okay, yeah. Dr. Masanga.
Gloria, I have not doubted your capability of having gone to school.
Taxes on milk. Taxes on milk first.
No,
Hold
listen.
it, Gloria.
I would
What are
never
the taxes
doubt,
on milk?
Gloria, I would never doubt your capability at all, because you went to very good school in Europe, and I know where you went. You have a reference number. You have never stolen anybody's.
What are the
Oh,
taxes?
so she's that clean. That's amazing. Can we focus, Dr. Basanga, on the question? Yes.
For you to come here to doubt, I am just repeating what yesterday, what the Deputy President said a few years ago, when the thing of the VAT came to Parliament. At times, Linda save us, your production team should save us, to bring some of those clips. The Deputy President came on national television and said VAT is very good for the economy. Yesterday he was asked how many taxes are on the fuel levy. He didn't know. And then he came back and said, which one? Latif asked him, which one do you want to remove? He said VAT. And you saw the rest. So for me, if Gloria did not watch that part, I want her to go back, because she's a
watched. It is comprehending. The comprehension.
Gloria, let's allow him to finish.
Yes, he's finished.
Yes,
Yes.
The proceed, Dr. Basanga, and make it brief so that Kevin can come in.
The legacy of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, as far as infrastructure development is concerned, is very clear.
Okay.
And when Ruto or Raila takes over power on 9th, you have
decided to write out Wajakoya and the other. It has to be the two of them.
When I am saying,
you write them off.
When any of the candidates before takes power on the 9th, let them build from where he stopped. That's how nations are built. The countries that are teaching us about democracy, Kevin knows. Britain is 1,900 years, and it wants us to follow democracy when they started killing a long time ago. The death of people on that island for almost 1,900 years before democracy came to be where it is. You cannot have democracy as it is in Africa. So for us, let's be mature. I like what Kevin has said. Let's look at issues. I'm not saying personal, to go and pick Rachel and rock her up, or to pick Margaret Kenyatta, rock her up, Kenyatta family. Let's not do that. A nation, Kenya is the only hope Africa has. I'm telling you, that's why some of us cry for you. It's the only hope Africa has. You show me where in Africa where there is this type of good debate. Where? It is the only country that we have on Africa left.
Okay.
Let's not destroy it. And therefore, I am saying that whoever wins the vote, let him build from where Uhuru Kenyatta started.
And that's a big question.
Yes.
Dr. Basanga, that really is a big question. Kevin, as you speak of the question of, this unbudgeted 4 projects that the DP says are pretty much on today as we speak. And I mean, the figures he highlights are pretty much on the high. And therefore, you ask yourself, I mean, can a government function on such basis and really be stable when it comes to the question of the economy, knowing very well that we do not have the faces there. That's why we have lots of allegations on the question of corruption, and as well as just who is going to come on board and how do they take it up from President Uhuru Kenyatta. Do they continue with the legacy or do they start afresh?
Remember, Linda, that even the government that is coming is going to inherit a government, a budget that is already in place. The budget was already affected. So talking about even some of these talks about cost of living, doing this and doing that, there has to be a very clear and processed thought about how exactly to do this. So many things that we are talking about, including even in the manifestos. Remember, many times I have said that in the rallies we can talk about a lot of things, but if they are not in the budgeting documents, so at the national level, of course, the national budget, which is broken down in medium-term frameworks, the national treasury, and now we have the Vision 2030 delivery, convenes stakeholders you know, to ask them about projects, to have their say about these projects, and even the budget estimates, where people are able to have conversations around, oh, remove this from here, take it to this, and there is a process of appropriating that. The green light, of course, rests with Parliament, which is why for anyone who is going to be the president in the next 12 days, 9 days, 10 days, up to August 9th, or when IEBC gives us the president, you must strengthen your mechanisms to engage with Parliament. Failure to which we are going to have, again, the discussions we are having now about the Jubilee second term government. And the deputy president cannot run away from it, because TNA and URP coined together and they formed Jubilee 2013 and 2017. They went and jointly campaigned, and they had more than 180, I think 185 members of Parliament in the National Assembly. Senate as well, you know. So there has to be a mechanism in which all these institutions and a government is not just run on political podiums and political rallies. It is three arms of government, Linda. We've been planning to educate Kenyans. The executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. So that the role of the legislature, one of it, other than the three, in terms of representation, because all of us cannot go to Bunge and start saying put money in education, put money in health, is appropriation. The CS Treasury does a budget policy paper even before it goes to Parliament, Linda. Kenyans should, and presidential candidates should stop telling Kenyans, we are spending this, I will change it into this. There is a process, there is a mechanism. Sadly for the deputy president, because he is a sitting deputy president, he's not even former, he has a lot of information about what is happening. I think the DP, through his party, also has, of course, Jubilee has the majority in Parliament, and we all know the kind of wars that Jubilee has had in both Senate and National Assembly in terms of changing even the leadership of majority leaders, minority leaders, the majority whips, and basically the leadership of the House. That, Linda, is very dangerous, because it is at the point of transiting between Kevin Osido as the former majority leader and leader of business, House Business Committee and all that, into Gloria Oruoba, that now these estimates that are being done we are seeing. Because by the time you even do a budget review, which is done through a supplementary budget, that also goes to Bunge through, of course, it's prepared by whoever cabinet secretary, the PS, and the team that is working within that ministry. By the time it goes into Bunge and is put as within the standing, the agenda, within the standing orders through the House Business Committee as a first item, Kenyans are not waiting, because if it is food, you must give us food. Teachers are not waiting for you to do your supplementary to pay us, or otherwise you communicate it effectively. But beyond that, Linda, still takes me back to the accountability issues. By the time the 20 million, the 25, 70, 100 millions were being rebudgeted and being picked, reorganized, where was the deputy president? Where were the members of Parliament from his party, you know? Why wait until it is a presidential debate? The DP has a very strong media team. Most of them are my friends. Why not have your own live feeds and tell Kenyans, I am your deputy president, but I am not happy
with this. Today
we just, you know, moved 100 million from water and we took it to that thing on Langata Road, the museum, you know, if that is really the conversation that is happening. Why wait until it is now? Of course, he talked about the handshake, he blamed the handshake for many things, but you are the deputy president. There are privileges that even the handshake partner does not have. You have them as a DP. Let us stop this fear of, you know, holding it by the horns. People have sacrificed for this country, Linda. Many people continue to sacrifice. Unfortunately, Kenyans now are sacrificing school fees, their lives, unga, transport on fuel, gas, oil, and all that. We must have people in government, particularly at that high level echelon of leadership, who are willing to sacrifice to salvage this country. If that sacrifice means that you are running for office to be able to arrest cartels, even at the Nairobi County gubernatorial debate, people were at pains to mention cartels who are going to Dandora with big trucks, and you know, we know them. Mention them and let us deal with this issue of corruption in an accountable manner.
Okay, Gloria Ruba, as we sum it up.
Kevin is also, as he's friends with the communications team of the deputy president, he's also a very good friend of the PS of sports, Joe Kudo. Very good friend. The other day we saw that Manyala almost missed, and then we also saw that there are challenges with those who are traveling because of financial things and resources. Kevin is friends with those. Why did you wait, first of all, that long for you to say that there's a sports fund? Wait, there's a sports fund under that Ministry of Sports that is supposed to buffer and actually inject resources into sports so that we can help our athletes and you know, our stadiums and things like that.
Can I answer?
But we cannot use the failures of others to justify
that sports fund was shifted and taken to build hospitals and given as what Nani is calling miscellaneous. He's very good friends with the PS. Why didn't you tell the PS to blow the whistle on that? So we cannot, the point that I'm making here,
you're asking
no, because it's my time.
But you're not allowing me to answer.
You know, hiyo ni ile swali haifai kujibiwa, inaitwa rhetoric.
Oh, ile swali ya ghafla.
School of
but then again, I'll ask Gloria. We're not going to use the failures of others to justify.
What I'm trying to demonstrate, friends, and this is why CBC has been brought, is that question that he asked is very relevant. Okay. Because anyone can ask the same question.
I asked the same question from the word.
Anyone can ask the same question.
Why is it that
but it can be pointed towards a different...
This is live.
So it is an irrelevant question.
This is yesterday.
It is an irrelevant...
Just 2 seconds.
This is live. This is an irrelevant question.
And Kenyans are expected to vote in the next few days.
It is an irrelevant question to
answer them.
Because I've also asked him the same question.
Well, we actually do not want you to answer that because
we are within sports. You can't even talk about at the election. Sports saizi ndio tunaendelea tunajaribu kuchukua hizo gold medal. So even this one is relevant, but you can see how irrelevant it is. So my point here is
she says
accountability
it's rhetoric.
Accountability runs across. Accountability is not only given to those who are assisting their bosses. It runs across, and by the way, the final decision maker, the person with the full autonomy, the person who today, if they stand and say we are putting in a curfew, that person is the president. The person who actually can say, if judiciary has an issue, they are saying they don't have resources to actually convict my nephews and nieces who stole COVID money. Ni pesa ndo inawashinda.
Then the ones who did that.
Then what? No, listen. Then the person
that is misplaced.
No, but that is public.
But why?
Alela, you know you guys are not allowing me to speak.
Okay,
Kwani there were no nephews and nieces who were actually put in the report for COVID.
Well, at least so far we do not have.
It is public knowledge. It is there. There's a Senate report sitting.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not talking innuendos and things. It is out there. So
we're coming to you, Doc.
So what I'm saying is,
you know, we're actually winding up.
If there's no political goodwill, if there's no political goodwill,
Dr. Masanga,
from the president, and that is why we're telling people to understand, you're voting in the president. If there's no political goodwill from the president, there is nothing the deputy can do. Absolutely nothing under this constitution. So if you think you're going to vote for Martha Karua because Martha Karua did not steal that, receive that bribe for BAT, and because you think she's clean, because she did not take the land in Kirinyaga, I am telling you, if there's no goodwill from the presidential candidate, from the president, there's no political goodwill. Hakuna mali mtaenda.
Gloria, allow us to take a quick break. You know, our time is up, but we'll have, you know, like say 5 minutes or 10 minutes for us to make our final submissions after this break.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent. I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
Waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is.
The Peter President is running away from the presidency. He can't run away. He can't run away up to the end when we hand over. And let Kenyans hear that. There is nothing. And let those who want to vote, vote when you know both Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto are part and a parcel of the presidency. Because the deputy president refused to resign if he saw there was something which was wrong. So whatever mistake was done, if he claims their mistakes, they were all done in the manner of the presidency. Even when we know very well that he was a ghost worker, the presidency continued to pump in money for fueling his cars and so on and so forth. That's very good. My dear brother will not run away from responsibility. Stick to it. Let the judgment come on 9th. You cannot give reasons that Raila was also a minister or what. No. Wacha tukufe pamoja. Kama kifo tuende pamoja kwa Yesu. Wacha tuende kwa Mungu. Let God go and judge all of us, Mr. Ruto. You are not going to run away.
No.
Yes.
No.
We are not going to run away from judgment because the judgment is now here. Now, moving forward, as a parting shot also because time might not be there, let me tell you frankly that today, every Kenyan who does a risk assessment, like Dismas Mukoa and myself, we are few people who do risk assessment. Kevin does analysis and risk assessment of governance. We do risk assessment of political science. Ruto yesterday stood up, came addressing the nation, and it is good that Azimio strategists like me, die-hard veterans, told Raila Odinga stay away from this. Yes, we did. I did. I want to confess.
And that it was good.
Yes, and yes. There's nothing. Look, our strategy will go through. You wait. On 10th, you will see. Gloria and I will be smiling at the bombers. We shall not be fighting. The strategy will go through very well. We didn't want us. You see, there were three people on the in Jerusalem who were being crucified. Do you remember them? Do you remember them?
Yes.
One of them told Jesus that you used to tell people here that you are a miracle maker. Why can't you make a miracle today? You remember that saying on the cross?
Yes.
What did Jesus say? Gloria is a Christian Anglican who goes to church like me. In my Anglican church. Yes, she should be Anglican. The way she makes argument, she's an Anglican.
Oh, okay.
She's not Catholic. Catholics are beloved. So let me tell you that we told Raila stood away, and the strategy that he did worked miracles yesterday. You can praise it. And the next thing that I want to do next year's debate or 5 years debate, that the media council, I've written to the media council. I am not a coward. I've told them, don't ever segment debates.
All right.
Don't segment debates in this country. All presidential candidates are the same. You have no right to choose.
All right, fair enough, Dr. Masanga.
Masanga, I'm not.
Asante sana.
I'm not Anglican. I'm not Anglican.
Neither are you Catholic.
Neither am I Catholic. I'm actually a Seventh-day Adventist.
But most importantly, I want to end by asking Gloria
but
one
most
question.
importantly, I'm a Christian.
Gloria,
so the denomination really doesn't point count.
Gloria, can you wait for me to ask you one question?
And time is off for you, Dr. Masanga.
Yes, it is over, but one question, 1 second, 20 seconds.
Rhetoric.
When your child falls in a pit latrine on Saturday, you wait for Monday.
Come again?
Definitely no. When your child falls in a pit latrine or on a Saturday, do you have to wait for Monday because, well...
I'm not going to address Masanga. He's been very... he's
Kevin,
digressed.
Kevin.
We are now in pit from Italians and
Kevin.
Linda.
Stay focused.
That is my...
That's an analogy. Fair enough, Dr. Masanga. Let's have Kevin come in with his sparring shots.
We only have one country. Whoever becomes president of this country in the next 12 days is determined by Kenyans, and that person must be able to give Kenyans hope. That person must be able to give Kenyans the assurance that our taxes are safe, our institutions are secure, and that this hula baloo about trying to hide and seek with money, with names, will be stopped. I don't want to imagine that we are going to be scared, or that we should be scared about who becomes president. And that is why I want to ask Kenyans that when we go to vote on 12th, you see even in this conversation we are having, how difficult it is to just say who these cartels are, why monies are being moved. Kenyans, look at the person you are voting for. The president does not work alone. The president works with a team. Within that team are parliamentarians who appropriate the budget in addition to, of course, making laws, exercising oversight, and representing us. As we make this critical decision about who becomes our president, consider also who becomes your MCA, because MCA makes money, budget allocations at the county level. The MCA exercises oversight. Your MCA can go and say, we know Kevin Osido is a cartel. Let's hit this thing as it is and not get scared about the after effects. Kenya is much more bigger than any of these individuals, whether it is Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, whether it is Mheshimiwa William Ruto, whether it is the bishop, whether it is Professor Wajakoya. The future is bigger than all these conversations we are having. When you go to vote on 12th, ask yourself, who are you voting for?
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Gloria Roba.
I think for me, I would say this. We can mention the names. In fact, we were having an argument with Kevin during the break. He's like, why don't you say the names? I'm like, I don't enjoy the security that you enjoy, Kevin, as an Azimio person. I'm out here walking, hoping that I don't go missing for supporting William Ruto. No, really, on a very serious note. So, yes, we are fearful because as much as we are soldiers...
Is that how bad our politics
As much as we are soldiers, we live to fight another day. So, we know the lines, and we know that this is a very big station being watched by very many people. So that's why we keep giving Kenyans homework, because we are directing you to where the names are. But my final remarks are that on the 9th of August, the first thing is that go out and vote. There are people saying, I won't vote, whatever, forever. The first thing, go out and vote, because the first assignment is to show up. You can see yesterday, Azimio Walisha Zama, they didn't even show up. The first thing you can do for this country as a Kenyan who is committed to actually putting this country to a place where it should be is show up, go out, even if utaenda uharibu kura, amka tu uende ukavute, ukapige kura. And then I would say, for me, actually, I am not selling what I am being paid to sell. Nobody is paying. I wish I was getting paid. I'd be very rich. Nobody is paying me to sell this. I believe in the manifesto that Kenya Kwanza has actually presented. I believe in my presidential candidate, William Ruto, because actually I have worked personally with him, and I can tell you that this is a leader who is ready to actually lead this country. So if you really care about this country like I do, go out and vote for William Ruto. At least he shows up when he's needed. Whether it is to answer difficult questions, he shows up.
I'll send
You know?
my invoice. Now, I know they don't pay you, but at least
the bare minimum,
you can push,
imagine
you can push for them to
he showed up, and even when he knew he was going to be tried to what I'm calling na
No, after threatening us that he would not show up.
But our guys from Azimio were so afraid. Hawataki kuulizwa maneno ya Mola says, hawataki kuulizwa maneno ya kujiswear in, hawataki kuulizwa. So they are like, si hatukuji. At least our candidate, he showed up. He's man enough to come and say, niulizeni hizo vitu zenye mnasemanga huko nje.
Gloria Oroba, youth policy analyst, as well as Dr. Masanga, who was joining us virtually. 30 seconds. What do you want to say?
I just want to remind Kenyans, there has been this narrative by some candidates that when you go to vote, if you like me, you place a tick. And because you don't like Gloria, you put an X. Please, that is a spoiled ballot.
That's a
In the ballot paper, you only have chance of your candidate. Unfortunately, I don't have a sample. Either tick or X for that candidate you are voting for.
And
if you do a tick and an X,
Kevin, it's good you brought it up. Let's do a sensitization.
But
there's another thing about electorate must know that also uyo clerk amekaa hapo asikuharibie nini ballot paper. They should not stamp it at the front and at the back. If they stamp it at the front and at the back, that's already a spoiled. So we need to, we need a show where we need to sensitize
just
the
speak
electorate.
about it. Perhaps next week we'll just say, the things that you need to know, the knows, the do's, the don'ts during the general election. I hope my producer takes note of that.
Show up with, because there are people who are saying, I registered with my ID, but can I show up with my passport? There are all those conversations.
And another thing which we'll do in that show is also, we must sensitize the electorate on how a polling station looks like and the red flags they should look at. Because there are places where they might even not have the Kim's kit person alafu watu kutumia manual register.
Again, I'll send my invoice to the IEBC. Asante sana, Gloria Oroba, youth policy analyst, Kevin Osido, governance expert, as well as Dr. David Nyekorach Masanga, who was joining us virtually, the chair Pan-African Forum. Unfortunately, Dr. Justice Juma of the Justice and Freedom Party could not make it to the studio this morning, but all the same, it has been instrumental. I hope Madam Producer has taken note of that for next week, it will be about sensitization, a little of civic education. That is very important.
We do a mock, and we just have a nice show about voter education. That has
very,
been
very important. All right, look, we look forward to that. That is for next week. But as of now, we speak to you, the viewer who's watching us back at home, through the phone calls that we get to receive. I'm told we have Joram. We already have Joram on phone. Joram, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
It's been an interesting week.
Oh yes, it has been quite interesting.
And it's only Wednesday today.
Yes.
I just called, to say two things about the presidential
debate.
Yes, the one that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you just want to say hi to goodbye, all right? Proceed, Joram.
Yes. So my thinking is.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the winner was Mwaure. He has never had the podium to talk to the country. People have never shown interest. Yesterday he spoke and made sense. We are so used to having, Raila there. So Raila missing was not a big deal.
Yeah.
Ruto was something nice, and to me it was a shock that he just went to Kerio Valley the other day. He said that he went to Kerio Valley the other day, so he's never been there. And we assume he's the king of Rift Valley. If he's never been in Kerio Valley, and that place has had fights ever since we started voting, it says a lot about him.
Yeah.
But for me, the winner was Mwaure.
Oh, the win was for Mwaure.
Yes, the win was for Mwaure. Yes,
is that to say that it could have been even better if these candidates were placed on the same space so they could speak to the people of Kenya? Because you realize.
Yes, I was actually hoping to get our Jacoya and Ruto. And Ruto, those two. Ruto is an orator.
Yeah.
Wajakoya is a career lawyer and a lecturer. So his whole life has been orating. I wanted to see that competition, but sadly, or not sadly, I just decided he was not going to do it.
I don't know how proper this would be, Joram. I don't know how right this would be. But then I'll ask that if the win on this space of the debate was Wahiga Mwaure for you, will that then speak of the possibility of where you will get to vote? And do you think that such as well was witnessed with the majority of Kenyans?
No, for the voters, I think, honestly speaking, there are two leading candidates. It's evident, I don't want to lie, there are two leading candidates. That is Ruto and Raila. But there's that voter. There's that voter who likes voting for change. You see the voters who are voting for Martha Karua. You see the letter who ran for president. There's a voter of Peter Kennedy. There's a voter who is voting for them because they believe in them. They believe in their policies.
Okay.
The rest of the voters just vote because it's two people. They are community kingpins. They are dealing. They have something to gain. But there's that one undecided voter who votes. Wants their votes to show something, to mean something. So that voter, there's a voter who votes for Mwaure because yesterday. Yes, he made sense. He spoke about things that made a lot of sense.
All right, well,
Yes,
interesting. What do you make of some of these things that they articulated? You see, it's one thing to speak ably. It's another to, showcase the capability of having some of these matters implemented. It was, hugely revolving around the troubles that bedevil us: corruption, the high cost of living, the question of integrity, the leaders that we bring on board. That these two leaders who were able to speak to the people of Kenya yesterday appear to be good enough to as well address these matters to the core in terms of making the necessary adjustments, in terms of making sure that at least the country is governable?
And again, about that, I need to touch on BP Ruto because his point is very conflicting. He keeps saying, I remember, I don't know who asked him about the cost of fuel. And he said very fast, there's a tax that was going to be lowered or removed. But again, he's the same person who said we needed to put that tax in order to be able to afford, the services the government is free. But when he was told, are you going to look into ways to completely remove that tax, he said he's going to talk to IMF. So I fail to wonder, are you telling us you're going to fight corruption by telling people to give you subsidies?
Well,
yeah, so for me that was a very big question mark. And then when you're told about Mwaure, I remember another issue of corruption. When Mwaure said there's a lot of money that is lost because of people dealing with these big contractors. When you deal with big contractors and you give bribes to someone in China, someone, I don't know where, your money goes to what country, Mwaure said that money is a lot of money. That money should be dealt with by people who are here so that it goes in circulation.
Yeah.
That was a good point. That is true.
Now, some of these things then, well, if you say that those ones that really stand the chance is, Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, do you suppose they should borrow some of these, that is captured in the manifesto of Wahiga Mwaure?
Yes, I think after the election, whoever comes in, he should sit down with these other two competitors or three of them and borrow the good things. Like Mwaure said, the Umbudgeted chairman should be recognized by the government. That is the security starts with them.
Okay.
If these things should be done, but the oil and his banking, then his legalization, it should be looked into. I'm not saying legalize banking so that every person in the village can smoke it freely. I'm saying look at the benefits that its cultivation can bring. Look into the idea of the export of You see, these are things that make sense. Kenyans need solutions. Kenyans need solutions, and I think we are used to these manifestos of we're going to do this, we're going to do ABC, we're going to do another thing, we are going to do security work. Kenyans need solutions, workable solutions.
Well, interesting. In your own opinion, whoever takes the presidency from President Uhuru Kenyatta, one of the biggest questions today is, one, do they go hunting on those ones that have been at the top of the helm in terms of the flaws that have been witnessed? If it's a question of corruption, do they go after these heads? Should we have heads rolling thereafter? And importantly, when it comes to the question of, taking it up, from President Uhuru Kenyatta, should they proceed with some of the good projects that really were brought on board by his government, or should they start afresh?
To answer your first question, yes, the head should roll. Let me tell you what the person at the bottom wants. To see one of the corrupt people at the top crying. When you steal money meant for medicine, when you steal money meant for roads, when you steal money meant for development projects, that means you're making the person at the bottom cry. The only thing that will make this person see your difference is to have one of these top people crying, in jail, in court, not only in court and taking payment for a sentence, in court, and someone being sentenced in prison. And that is the only thing, that is the only fight for corruption we want. We want to see someone answerable. Corruption has become, it's a disease, it needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Secondly, the project Uhuru has done, I know the country is suffering, but we are in a pandemic. People have not assumed we are not in a pandemic. We are in a pandemic. We are in a war. Ukraine and Russia war is affecting everyone in the whole world. So yes, Uhuru has done projects. I move around the road. Who hasn't traveled on Wayakimi to Limuru? It has 4 extra lanes. So yes, the projects that Uhuru has started or had started, if they need continuation, yes, those need to be continued. The only way the country can move forward is infrastructure. And Linda, from the place I come from, Kikuyu land, we say, let the government give what the government gives.
Right.
Leave them making money to us.
Wow, interesting, Joram. And so we are here eagerly waiting. Just a couple of minutes ago, I had, guests that were talking about what Kenyans really need to understand as to the question of, that D-Day, the processes, just voter education and, election education, very, very important. In your day-to-day activities as you have, conversations with people around you, as you engage, do you think Kenyans are privy to, this crucial information as pertaining to how they conduct themselves during the election day?
Now, that is an issue I was actually thinking about yesterday. I was like, the next time I call to people to think, and I think I'm going to tell them to talk about that issue. Because, and earlier I had mentioned there is a voter who just votes, it's a football match, Manchester, Arsenal, and you're on there, my side has to win. Anyway, Kenyans need civic voter education. The Kenyan voter is the most uneducated, I think, in the world.
All right.
We don't vote, no one votes on principle. Okay, very few vote on principle. People vote because it's their person. The fact that it's the issue of the trees voting for the earth because the earth is made from wood, not forgetting the earth becomes flattened down.
Well, all right, Joram, and I hope that, do you understand some of these basics as we close?
The Kenyan voter.
Let's talk about you in particular. when it comes to the D-Day, are you...
Personally, I don't think I'm an expert because there are issues I also don't know. Also, sometimes they say I'm voting, I'm biased towards this. And yes, I do agree. Sometimes I've voted for someone just because, I'm benefiting from them being in power in one way or the other. So also, if that voter education was to be rolled out, I'd be one of the people who would vote. Sometimes we have to admit the truth.
That's true. Well, okay, Joram, and I hope that in these 2 weeks remaining, or 12 days remaining, that at least that sensitization will be done as much as possible for the benefit of the people of Kenya, for us to run away from, having very many cases of, spoiled votes, as well as just getting to have Kenyans enticed and psyched up and, set to go out there and vote. Asante sana, Joram, for speaking to us. Joram calling us all the way from Ruaka. That is Kiambu County. We close this one at this very moment, but not in totality.